This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Oakland Athletics.
And the pitch is swung on, hit the right field, hit deep. Whitefield going back at the track, over his head, and over the wall. Do you believe that?
And 29 other MLB clubs.
Ramirez with a drive to deep right, away back, goal!
Go Hayes gets a bomb out there by the Rocks. And boy, oh boy, this third inning is now showtime.
It is a judging blast. All rise. Here comes the judge.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe, from humidors to spin rates to game-changing moments. We have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us next from the town, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of A's Cast Live. Turn me up a little bit. And my headphones up a little bit. There you go. We have a phenomenal show for you today. And when I mean phenomenal, would you say we have a phenomenal show?
It's up there, yeah.
We've got a bunch of Oakland A's Hall of Famers and a couple of who's who in our business. We've got the batting champion and the World Series champion, the kid from San Jose. Carney Lansford is going to join us at 4:30. And then for a certain generation of A's fans, he is the most popular for his time. And that would be Jason Giambi, former MVP, will be here at 5 o'clock. Both going to be inducted into the A's Hall of Fame coming up this Sunday. Eno Sarris, our national baseball columnist. I didn't realize how many people have caught on to A's Cast Live for the fact that Eno is followed nationally, and it's always brought up he's on our show every week. I always knew it would be a big benefit for me, you, and the audience. I didn't realize the relevance of the show, how it would help that other teams and other fan bases know he shows up every week.
It's big for us. It's big for sure. And remember, he's going to be voicing spots for Fieldwork soon.
And then Brian Kenny, the host of MLB Now, host for MLB Network. We don't get him often, but when we do, fabulous stuff. Brian Kenny is going to be here at 6 o'clock. So we got two A's Hall of Famers, a national baseball columnist, and a national host all showing up here. Carney Lansford, we've got Jason Giambi, Eno Sarris, and the great Brian Kenny from MLB Network. A lot of you remember from his days at ESPN, a lot of boxing, baseball, Sports Center, you name it. But now my favorite show on that network, MLB Now, and he is the host. I was going to start with some interesting data for you, but something else has happened. I just want to let you know we've had games that have happened earlier today in case you weren't following the scoreboard. Padres, they've made some trades. They think they're still in this thing. They're in Colorado. They bombed the Rockies 11-1. Red Sox, my buddy who loves the Red Sox, and I keep ripping Chaim Bloom. Chaim and his prospects, Chaim in the minor leagues. Red Sox, right? Oh, they're right where they want to be. Well, remember, they act like the Rays now. So Red Sox fans are happy to be like the old Rays. Red Sox lose in the Pacific Northwest 6-3.
It's working out for me right now.
Your Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah, it's okay.
Lose to the Tigers 6-3.
Building for next year.
Giolito, his first start as is it second?
Yeah.
How'd the first one go?
Not good.
Well, the second one's miserable. He got bombed today by the Braves in Atlanta 12-5. But all that is not what I'm worried about. All that is not what I care about. I care about the American League West and the battle for the American League West. And they had to go. Who'd they go with today? They went with was Blanco. Who was the guy that the Astros called somebody up because they wanted to push Christian Javier back a little bit? Fromber just threw the no-hitter, the 16th no-hitter since 2021. Let's see who started. Yeah, Blanco started for him today. The Houston Astros got the win today, 3-2. Do you know what that means?
Are they now tied for first?
We have a tie. Now, think about this. Texas was a season high 6 games up in the AL West just 5 weeks ago. June 28th doesn't seem like a long time ago, does it?
No, it was just a little over a month.
June 28th, they had a 6-game lead. As of right now, before the White Sox and Rangers tee it up a little bit later, that is going to start in about 1 hour. Dylan Cease, who the White Sox kept, will be on the mound. Dane Dunning is going to stay in the rotation because my guy, Nathan Eovaldi, and his elbow are on the shelf. We're all tied in the AL West right now. That's unbelievable. And you think about adding Justin Verlander to Valdez, to Christian Javier. They're still going to go with JP France, Hunter Brown, Urquidy's coming back. The Houston Astros went from being super, super thin because Luis Garcia and Lance McCullers Jr. are both out for the year. You think about Luis Garcia, what he did for them last year in the postseason, and what he did for them last year. To have Lance McCullers Jr. and Luis Garcia out and Urquidy out, and they didn't have Verlander, they were thin as hell. Now with Verlander and Urquidy coming back to go with Framber Valdez, no-hitter yesterday, Christian Javier, Hunter Brown, JP France, who we got to see out in Oakland. Boy, the Houston Astros look like a whole different animal now on August 2nd.
They've what's the other guy too? Brandon Bielak is another guy they were using too.
Mm-hmm.
They've been. I mean, we talked about this how many times, what the Astros have done over the years with developing starting pitching. It seems like they just keep finding guys and bringing them up and all this. But yeah, now you're adding Verlander into the mix. Framber last night doesn't care the Verlander's back. He threw the no-hitter.
Well,
First Astro left-handed pitcher to have a no-hitter.
I mean, is that not a huge shot in the arm? You don't think that was a huge shot in the arm? Now, Cleveland, offensively, is terrible. But it's still a no-hitter. It's like Domingo Germán, which unfortunate news coming out of New York because of alcohol, substances. He is going to take some time away from the New York Yankees. So good luck to him to get sober because obviously he has had his problems off the field with domestic violence. Alcohol was definitely a part of that. Addiction is a horrible thing. Good luck to him owning up to it. I don't know the full details. It's just come down. Brian Cashman has spoken at Yankee Stadium. We didn't get to see it. But Domingo Germán, author of the latest Perfect Game, is going to take time away to get help with substance abuse. And what you've read about him, clearly substance abuse have helped lead to the problems or contributed to the problems that have been off the field, including domestic violence. So good luck to him on that. That's tough news for him and the New York Yankees today. But getting this kid's life, I mean, obviously he has an incredible arm, but getting his life straight, far more important than Major League Baseball right now. But yeah, we're all tied up in the AL West. And if the Rangers lose tonight, the Astros will be in first place. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It is. Here we go again. They've been to the ALCS 6 straight years, 4 World Series appearances during that time with 2 World Series titles. What was that you sent me? It was a tweet, but it wasn't like a regular tweet. What was that you sent me about the game plan that Jeffrey Lunau years ago?
Kyle Bodie, the guy that was like the head of Driveline, who used to work for the Reds, put out a whole tweet about what Jeffrey Lunau did when he took over the Astros.
But it's not like a regular tweet. It's paragraphs.
Yeah. He must. I think he's verified, so he pays for it, so he's able to tweet as much as he wants. Check it out, Kyle Bodie. I'll tell you what his Twitter handle is.
It is a succinct
at Driveline Kyle. He is verified. He has a whole thing about Jeffrey Lunau and the Astros.
It is a very succinct, well thought out, well written, what the Astros did. Astros didn't know whether it was going to work or not. And this has nothing to do with the cheating scandal. This is before the cheating scandal. But when Jeffrey Luhnow took over, he had a game plan. Didn't know if it was going to work. Obviously, it did. But he had a game plan, a business plan, as every good business does. We have a plan, and we're going to execute this plan. Now, if the plan is not working, we can deviate, we can change, because there's got to be flexibility in life. But they put pen to paper, and they said, this is what we're going to do. And when you read it, it made great sense. They weren't going to trade anybody in their minor league system. They were only going to trade guys that were at the big league level. Their team wasn't very good. They were going to spend a lot of money on technology. They were going to, it was new technology in the business. It's now not new anymore. They were going to up their high-speed cameras, their equipment, the Rapsodos, all this kind of stuff. And they got software that they didn't have before. They went all in on technology. So it's this whole business plan of what they were going to do. Now, it could have failed, but at least they did it. There was a succinct, exact plan of how they were going to go out and change the organization. If it doesn't work, we get fired. But we're going to do it. We're going to have a plan. And sometimes you wonder, when you look at certain teams and the way they utilize their big league roster, they utilize their minor league system, you wonder, what is your plan? What really is the plan? Do you have a plan? Do you have a exact, succinct plan that everybody knows? Because when you read this thing from this Driveline guy, everybody top to bottom was in. They all knew. Scouts knew the plan. The minor league coaches knew the plan. Everybody knew the plan. Nobody was like, what are we doing? Hey, what are we doing today, Cody?
They had a plan.
So if I go to you and you would know.
Yes, exactly.
Everybody would know. And I come, you start to wonder with other teams, like, well, okay, what is your plan? Because what they did worked. Might not have worked, but at least they had a plan and they went with it. And they stood by it no matter what. And no one influenced them outside. No media, no pressure, no fans. This is our plan. We're going to do it. And now they can do whatever the hell they want in their market. They run the market. Very interesting read. We didn't get to all of this.
Okay, can I just give you one piece of news before we get to that? Just came out. Our good friend Liam Hendricks is out until 2025, Tommy John surgery.
No, we knew that was coming. He had not been healthy. Liam, not obviously the cancer, but Liam has had a issue with his elbow since he was with the A's, and was quite frank about it here on A's Cast Live multiple times that he's going to pitch until it pops. And he's done a lot of different therapies. He's taken shots. He's done all this kind of stuff. And finally, the elbow gave out. He knew it was going to give out. He was very cavalier about talking about, I'm just going to go till it blows. I'm just going to go. So, you know what? In a year like this, I wish he would have done it probably earlier, because we know it's about 14 months, 12 to 14 months. And where he is in his career and his age. But that means he's not back until
25.
Well, it's what, August? Did he have it yet?
I think he just underwent. It says this morning to repair a torn UCL ligament in his right elbow, performed by Dr. Keith Meister. Keith Meister's been everywhere recently, fixing all these arms.
Burgermeister? Do you know who Burgermeister is?
No, but I knew
from the Disney cartoon movie, Christmas movies. Not Disney, but the.
Well, I know the Heatmeister and
that's
those guys.
Burgermeister. Yeah, that sucks for Liam, but we knew that was going to happen. MLB Network threw it out today again, and I wanted to, before we get to what time we get into Carney's at 4:30.
Yeah.
When you think about the additions of Verlander, Scherzer, and all the different guys, it's funny how we have now convinced all of you and try to convince ourselves that trading for these prospects is like the greatest thing ever. And how many times MLB, if you get emails from MLB.com, we're going to rank the top 30 farm system, prospects, top 100 prospects. Who's the top 30 prospects for each team? Until my guy Dan O'Dowd, former GM of the Colorado Rockies, longtime assistant GM under John Hart for the Cleveland Indians during their heyday. Hey, he got the Rockies to the World Series. And that was such an interesting job that Dan O'Dowd did because they tried everything. They tried throwing money at it. They tried rebuilding. It's tough to win in Colorado. He finally did it. Well, they came up with some numbers. From 2013 to 2022, trading deadline deals. That's a pretty big sample size. There were 573 prospects traded. Of those prospects, 3% became impact players. That is a horrific return. Contributors. These are guys that they play. They show up. They have an opportunity to play in the big leagues. You bring them up. They're not star players. They don't sign long-term contracts, but they become guys that play. Contributors. Of those 573 prospects traded between 2013 and 2022, 10.8% became contributors, guys who actually played. This one, wow. From 2013 to 2018, 29% of the guys would never spend one day in the big leagues, basically 30%. It is crazy. The talk of the prospects in our game and where everybody now wants to build their franchise the same way. Everybody now, remember Moneyball? Everybody started doing Moneyball. Everybody now is trying to do it one way. That's why this offseason, we're not going to get to that. That's a long way away, but it's going to be fascinating because after the Mets committed over $330 million and now punted, I don't know if we're going to be seeing people ready to launch out there and sign some 10, 11-year deals for players. Don't think we're going to see that this offseason. I think you're going to have a lot of what all these teams are doing now. It's, I want to win, but I want to rebuild or I want to retool at the same time. There's so much of, I want to fly the plane and I want to refuel in the air. I never want to come back down. I want to stay up and do both at the same time. Jerry DiPoto said it over the weekend on Sirius XM. That, are you a buyer or are you a seller? He goes, I'm both. People want to be both. I want to win and be good and maybe have a chance, but then I also want to have a farm system that's really strong. I want to have both. I want to have balance. People are really searching for this balance, but I love the analogy of flying the plane and refueling in the air, which is dangerous and really hard to do. That's a great analogy for it. But that's what teams want. They want balance. Some teams are just going to be like, we're full rebuild mode, like we are the A's. That's where we're at. And there's quite a few teams like that. But then the other teams, even the big market teams, you're starting to see like, yeah, Dodgers are in it right now. Dodgers in the deadline, got a bunch of guys with a negative WAR, hoping to turn them around. Boston Red Sox didn't do much.
They got hit like under 150.
Yankees did nothing. What do the Yankees do?
2 relievers.
Nobody's.
Yeah.
Nobody's. I mean, it's so that's a crazy stat, right? 2013 to 2018, almost 30% never played a day in the big leagues. Not a September call-up, not nothing, not even a sniff. 30% of these guys. So essentially, what we're sold when these trades happen, and we're living it now. Olsen trade, Chapman trade, Bassett trade, Mania trade. We're sold on all these, we're going to restock the system. You're restocking the system with a lot of guys that are never going to make an impact for you. It's going to be sold that there's that potential that you're getting the lottery ticket. But the reality is most of these lottery tickets, at best, you're going to scratch it. You're going to get these scratchers, and you're going to get another ticket. That's the best. That is the repurpose this prospect for another deal.
It's interesting. If you look back at just just last year at the deadline when the A's traded Trevino and Montas, Waldichuk's in the majors.
Yep.
Medina's in the majors. The only guy is JP Sears, and was the Cooper Bowman. He's the only one, but he's in AA. The rest of those guys were all traded before the season and in the offseason. So those guys don't even fit into this. So the A's have been, I guess, fortunate that their guys that they traded for are playing, but this is alarming. And it goes back to that thing we had about the last 10 years of draft picks and the guys that have made it to the majors for any team, not just a team they're drafted by. And that's why Houston's number one at 23%.
Only 23%. 10 years, 329 picks for the Astros. Only 23% of those guys made the big leagues. It's crazy. It is so different than what you get in the NFL, because when you draft guys in the NFL, you at least know they're going to play special teams. I'm at least going to put a guy on kickoff. I'm at least going to have a guy of kickoff return. Guy going to put a guy out there during punts. I'm going to get something out of them. We get all these dudes, and you got no idea. No idea.
Actually, I actually preferred if the Bengals would have put Joe Burrow in the XFL for a year or two and let him take his lumps down there, then call him up to be the starting quarterback.
Can you imagine? I mean, well, we drafted Peyton Manning. You know what we're going to do? We're not going to play him. We're not playing Peyton Manning. You know why? Because we want to make sure he's a free agent later. So we're going to keep him down in
NFL Europe.
You're calling, the USFL. We're going to put him down in the USFL and not play him. He's not ready. He needs 500 throws. Peyton Manning needs 500 throws before he's going to be able to play at this level. Not going to play him.
I think he threw almost. What did he throw his rookie year? He had the most interceptions. I don't think anyone broke that yet.
He had the rookie
interception 26 record. Touchdowns, 28 picks, I believe. How many times he threw it as a rookie? He threw it 575 times as a rookie.
No, he should have been in Canadian football. That's ridiculous. I just wanted to throw that out there for you. I thought it is now something that they've used on MLB Network multiple times in the last 24 hours, because it's really shocking of what these press conferences are like, right? You trade somebody, front office person gets in front of you and goes, hey, listen, man, we took this other organization, the third prospect, the sixth prospect, the eighth prospect, blah, 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 blah. Then you start really looking at, well, what happens to all these prospects after these trades, right? I'm watching Matt Olson hit bomb after bomb after bomb, and I'm wondering, wait, what? Some Estes guy's 21 years old. Okay, that's a good sign. He just got called up to AA.
AAA now.
Is it AAA? Estes is in AAA?
He's in AAA now, yeah.
Check that. Is it AAA or AA?
I thought it was AAA. Just like last night, Jacob Wilson, first professional hit for Lansing last night.
Ooh.
It was a double down the line, too. He is now, of course, it doesn't say on baseball, right? Let's just see. Joey, I thought I saw he got promoted to.
He was just promoted. What level?
Signed to Las Vegas Aviators.
He's 21 years old, right?
Yep, 21. He's
so
with the Aviators, yep.
So maybe something's going to come out. Wait, was he in the – we've done so many deals with the Braves. He
was in the Olsen deal.
Okay. Pache gone. Langoliers is hitting 200 and a negative defensive run saved. Something's got to come up with this deal, or it's horrifically looking bad. Horrifically bad.
Yeah, the other two guys are Estes and Cusick.
And where's Cusick?
He's at mid.
He's
Midland. He's Midland.
Was he healthy yet?
He was pitching earlier this year. Remember when we were talking to
because we're just gonna be honest with you. When we talk to all of our people about the minor leagues, they go pitching.
Cusick this year in AA started 17 games, 4-4 at the 4.36, 74 innings, 74 in the third, 66 strikeouts. Oh, he's made some starts. Progress. Gunnar Hoagland's back. He's pitching in Stockton last week. The one guy left from the Matt Chapman trade.
So a long way to go. Yeah,
Forgot Kevin Smith. He's still here too.
Oh, yeah. Thank God Kevin Smith was starting as shortstop last night.
Oh, he started tonight at shortstop.
Tonight, and Hernandez has moved to second.
It's second, yep. And Brett Harris is the third. SCDHing and leading off. So maybe we see him tomorrow or Saturday.
Why is he not here? If he's playing, what, is he ready to go or not? Dude, that's been a while. It's before the All-Star break.
Correct. Well, they want him to play back-to-back games, right? And he's not playing in the field today.
Talk about the game plan. What's the game plan? Especially pitching. You need pitching. And maybe the trades at the deadline, you brought 2 pitchers in. Talked about that yesterday.
Chad Patrick and Joe Boyle.
So you bring these guys in. You drafted a boatload of pitchers, but these guys got to hit. These guys, because you're at a point. You're at a point where you can't be, I guess, that's the best way I want to put this. Your guys have to work. It's been a couple decades of mixing and matching and trading and moving guys and constantly moving guys and cash moving and doing all this kind of stuff. And then you stumble on something in 12 that works, that carries the 13-14. And then it's mix and match and mix and match and mix and match and mix and match. Boom, 18 hits. And you got a couple draft picks. But where the team is now, you're not spending the money. So you're not able to move players all around. As you saw, there's teams that are not really interested in your players. Right now, to get out of where you're at, your draft has to work. You have to hit on your draft picks. Your international signings, where's the international signings? We've been signing guys, right?
Yeah.
So the international signings, they got to work because you're not able to wheel and deal out there. Right? You're not able to be signing all and moving these guys and in this deal, send a little money here and do this and do that. And, it's a hodgepodge and all of a sudden it starts to work and wow, starting to win. This is starting to look good.
Look at the Astros.
You don't have, that's not even where I'm going.
Well, I'm just saying, we'll talk about
the movement, though, that the A's have always relied on with all the different moves and different organizations. And we find guys in other organizations and take this guy and then it all kinds of come together. You don't have that flexibility because you're not spending any money. So if you don't spend money on the big league roster, you have to have guys come from your minor league system. Your minor league system has to produce. And part of your minor league system is your international players that you have signed. The international players and the players you draft, they have to work. Because if they don't, well then it is what it is. You don't have the flexibility right now. You have more of that if you're spending 80, 90 to 100 million, you got players and you can do a lot of different moves. You don't have that right now. You're not going to do that. Where can I find myself a Carney Lansford? I need Carney Lansford.
You want me to bring him on? He's here.
I'd love to have Carney Lansford on. Carney, it's Chris Townsend with the A's. How are you?
I'm good, Chris. Thanks for having me on.
I got to think this is going to be a special day for you. I know we've talked about it in the past, but as a guy that grew up here in the Bay Area, a guy that grew up an A's fan, got a chance to play for the A's, you won a World Series with the A's. What is this going to mean to you going into the Oakland A's Hall of Fame?
Well, Chris, it's such an honor. I can't even begin words. There's no words for it. To be joining the guys that I idolized growing up. When I was in high school was when the A's were winning 3 straight World Series. So, to be joining guys like Joe Rudy, Reggie Jackson, Giambi, Catfish, Sal, all those guys, it's just a tremendous honor.
Yeah, and you're going in with Gene Tennis.
Yeah, I know. I actually, when I was in high school, I was listening to the World Series, my little transistor radio, and that's the year that Gino had all those home runs in the World Series. So be going in with him, and then of course I love Jason Giambi. So, and my man Roy Steele. What can I say? It's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be very special, and the thing that most players will never get the opportunity to play in the area they grew up. They just don't get that opportunity. When you look back now, how special was that?
It was awesome because, again, I idolized the A's growing up. That was my team. And I can't tell you how many times I went to the Coliseum to watch them play. And to get the opportunity to play on that field, basically I felt like I was playing at home. So, I mean, I was born in San Jose, raised in Santa Clara. So 30 minutes away was the Coliseum. So I got to play there for 10 years. It was awesome.
You know, I think about the teams that you played on, and we've gone over them, especially during the COVID years. We played a lot of the X Games. I mean, when you look back at how great those teams were, you won a World Series, 3 straight World Series appearances, but just talk about how lucky you were to play on a team like that, led by one of the great managers of all time, and Tony La Russa.
Yeah, and you've got to give Sandy Alderson a lot of credit and Wally Haas for putting together those teams. You know, once Tony came over is when we really started making moves to acquire great players. Bobby Welch, Rick Honeycutt, Dave Henderson came over, Dave Parker they signed. So, I mean, they just really put together a great team for a number of years.
When did you know, like when you were looking around and when did you realize, oh, we got something special?
Actually, it was the first day of spring training in 1988. Tony had just had his first meeting with us in the locker room, and as we were walking out of the locker room onto the field, I remember looking at the guys coming out, and immediately I said, wow, this year we actually have a really good chance to win this thing. So it was 88 spring training.
And I think about your guys' run. You guys are like rock stars. There's, good teams obviously are very, very popular, but when you guys went on the road, it was like one of those deals where you just couldn't walk through the lobby of the hotel like most teams. Just talk about what you had stars on your team. You had a bunch of stars. What was that like being on a star-studded ball club like you guys had?
It was awesome. When we played away games, there would be more green jackets and green hats in the stands at the visiting park than there was their own guys, their own colors. So it was great. I mean, it was Ricky, Eck, Stu, all those guys, Jose, Mark, Terry Steinbach. We just had a great team, and it was a lot of fun. We did feel like rock stars, actually, for about 3 or 4 years there.
And you guys beat the you-know-what out of people. I've done a lot of TV with Stu lately, and Stu and I chat and watch the games, and we've just talked about how intimidating you guys were. Like, you walked out on the field and you had games won already.
Yeah, Tony used to talk to us about, breaking it down, one series at a time, actually. He said, our goal should be to try to win every series that we play. So that's usually 2 out of 3 games. But then if you win the first 2, then you got to get greedy and try to sweep. So, I mean, yeah, we had great talent. We knew it. For me, we had great pitching, great starting pitching, a great bullpen. Rick Honeycutt, the greatest closer that I can think of, Dennis Eckersley, had a great bench. So we just had a team with no weakness on it. So even the days when Tony would give some veterans a rest, the guys that he ran out there, the Stan Javieres and those guys, we weren't missing a beat with any of those guys out there. So it was awesome.
The one thing when you're such a good hitter, people just focus on that and they forget about your defense. And I know that's always tough because you pride yourself so much on playing defense, and your guys' teams prided themselves on being great defensively. Like, everybody always wants to talk about your hitting. Do you ever go, hey, listen, I bring the leather to the yard every day too?
Yeah, Chris, for me, really, all honesty, the offense is nice. It's great. But I would rather, when I played, make a great play to save a ball game than to get 3 hits and lose. For me, it was just about winning. And if I could help my pitcher out by making a great play, that meant a lot to me. When I go into the clubhouse after the game, look in the mirror, I felt really good about myself if I played a great defensive game. So, yeah, defense was my pride, actually.
But let's be honest, you could flat out swing it.
Well, I did okay. I'm very proud of that, and a lot of guys had a lot to do with that, helping me out or whatever. Walt Rainiac, when I went to Boston, he's the guy that really taught me how to use the whole field and made me a much better hitter, a much better contact hitter. So I got to give Walt Rainiac a lot of credit there. So, yeah, but offense is fun. It's great being on base. My favorite thing about playing the game was running the bases. And you can't run the bases unless you get on. So, yeah, hitting is great. Defense was more important to me, though.
We've seen it with Zach Geloff lately. a young second baseman who's just come up, his ability to go the other way as a right-handed hitter, to have power, to hit the ball out to right center, hit the ball off the wall, extra base hits, be able to go foul pole to foul pole. You know, so many hitters today, and of course you were a hitting coach. You know exactly these kids are all coming up. They're all trying to pull it and hit the ball at the ballpark. You had a great ability that, yeah, you could do that, but you also had the great ability to go to the right side. Talk about what your approach was like, that we don't see a lot of that in today's baseball.
Well, you know, Chris, when I got to the A's, I hit behind Ricky most of the time. So you have the greatest base stealer in the history of the game. And so a lot of times, you know, he's on second base with nobody out. So my job was to get him over to third or get him in by hitting the ball the opposite way. So when I first got to Boston, Joe Rudy got me in touch with Walt Riniak in spring training. And he's really the guy that taught me how to stay back and use the whole field. When I was in Anaheim with the Angels, my first 3 years, I was pretty much just see ball, hit ball. I never really thought about, you know, trying to purposely hit the ball hard to the middle the other way. If I hit the other way, it was probably an accident most of the time. So, you know, I started working with him, and it just became part of my routine every day to do soft toss and work on hitting the ball the other way, and then pull some balls. But most of the balls I hit were the other way. So it made it tougher to pitch to me, I think, because you don't jump out. These guys that just strictly pull the ball, I think they're pretty easy to pitch to most of the time. You know, they just jump out there and they chase a lot of balls in the dirt because they're so committed to trying to pull the ball that they don't stay back and try to use the whole field and hit the ball the other way. So, you know, it just helped me too, Chris, with like my two-strike approach. Really, the first 3 years of my career, I didn't really have a two-strike approach. But once I got to Boston and my entire time with the A's, I really thought about, hey, make sure with two strikes that you're swinging at it is a strike or close to a strike. So just the discipline, I think, was more important than anything.
You know, we talk so much about managers. We talk so much now about front office guys. There's a bunch of legendary coaches out there that really don't get their due. And you mentioned Walt Riniak, and you think about what he did for you. You think about what he did for George Brett. You think about what he did for some of these great players. He should be talked about more. And I think some of the great pitching, Dave Duncan, for instance, as a pitching coach. But when you talk about Riniak as a hitting coach, just talk about the greatness of a man that really changed so many of your guys' lives.
He changed a lot of lives. And one guy you left out there was who left Boston the year before, or the year that I got there, Carlton Fisk, great hitter. And he worked with Dewey Evans. He worked with Walt Riniak. And by the way, Walt Riniak was a disciple of Charlie Lau. That's how he learned. That's how he learned how to teach guys how to hit. So yeah, it's important to have a guy. He wasn't even our hitting coach when I was in Boston. And they should get way more credit than they actually get. But that's most of the time that's what happens when you're a coach. So you don't get a lot of credit.
And also on hitting behind Ricky Henderson, how tough is it to be patient at bat after at bat? You know he's going to be going. There have to be a ton of times you took pitches that you would have loved to swing at that you couldn't, and that's truly being a team guy in your lineup.
You know, when I first got to the A's, hitting behind Ricky was really difficult for me because I'm a very aggressive hitter. I don't like trying to hit with two strikes all the time and then still try to be productive. But we didn't really communicate, Ricky and I, when I first got there. Then he went to New York for a year or two, and he came back. And the first thing I did was sit down with Ricky and said, hey, you know, we just communicated. I said, you know, Rick, there's some pitchers out there that I can give two strikes to, and I still feel pretty confident I can put the ball in play with authority. But there's some guys out there that I need three swings. I'm just being honest with you. These are major league pitchers, you know. And I said, so let me ask something. What's the chance when you're on first base and you know that you're going to go that next pitch? Is there any way you can just give me some little sign so that I know to take the pitch? And he honestly, what he said is, I'll tell you what, when I'm on first base, if you see me pick my pants on the right-hand side, then I'm going to go that pitch. And it made it so much better because he did every time. Because before that, you know, there's sometimes that he would deke like he was going, you take a pitch, and he doesn't go, and that was a good pitch to hit. But he was really good. He was great with me because he said, those guys that you really struggle with, don't worry about taking pitches with them. I'll get them myself. and he always did. So just the communication hitting behind a guy like a Ricky Henderson was huge.
I think about guys, it's been a while since you've played, so you may think that the fan base forgets about you, and then all of a sudden you go to fantasy camp and you realize they haven't forgotten you at all and what you mean to this fan base. What is that like when you go back and you put the uniform on and you're in Arizona and all those fans start telling you about what they saw you do and how much they loved you as a player and they love those teams that won? What has that been like, kind of revigorating that relationship with the fan base?
It's great to be there with the fans, and they're awesome. I have a great time doing it. I've done it a half a dozen times, and I'll be doing it again this next January. But one of the best things for me is seeing my former teammates and guys that played before me with the A's that come in. So, Terry Steinbach comes out from Minnesota. Greg Cataray's there pretty much every year. Shooty does a great job of hosting the fantasy camp. He's awesome. And so we have a blast, and just seeing the fans out there having fun, enjoying it, and telling their different little stories is great.
Please take down Dallas Braden. We're all tired of hearing about Dallas Braden and him coaching. This is one of you guys got to take him down this year.
I coached with Terry Steinbach last year, and we had every game won until the not the championship game, but the winner of the second to last game was going to go to the championship. And we had won every game, and then we got to the end of the game, and our pitcher couldn't throw strikes. And when the guys are facing women, they get a little nervous because they can't throw as hard as they can, because you don't want to embarrass the ladies up there. So you want them to at least try to hit the ball, and then they try so hard that they can't throw a strike. So we're walking the bases loaded, we'll walk a guy in, and then pretty soon one of our guys, at the end of the game, the last inning, one of our guys hits a ball deep to right field where this lady was playing out there, and you think she's got to go back. She has no chance. We're going to win this game right here. And she makes the play of her life and catches the ball on the end of her glove. And our guy that we had on second base would have been the go-ahead run. He goes around third base, and he tags at second, going around third base. And Terry's at third base. He's like, stop, stop, stop. The guy wants to be the hero, and he ran straight through. Oh. And he was out by half the distance at home plate. And so we would have been in the championship game had that not happened. But, Dallas, once again, he goes in there and he wins. So, but I got to tell you, I didn't even know Dallas until a couple of years ago. And the guy's hilarious. I love him. Between him and Shooty hosting that thing, all you do is laugh the entire time.
Yeah, it's such a great event. We felt so lucky to be there this year, and we can't wait to bring our cameras down again and get all the action here on A's Cast and A's Cast Live for all the fans. Is your speech ready? Do you have it ready to rock?
It is right. Oh, yeah. I only get 2 minutes, and I have a number of people I have to thank for this and that, so my time will be up.
Well, it is always an honor to have you on the program. Congratulations. When I was growing up, you were definitely one of the premier hitters in the game. Loved watching you play, and it's always been great having you on the show. Congratulations, and I can't wait to see you on Sunday.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me on your show. I'm looking forward to this next weekend.
Take care. You have fun.
Okay. See you later.
Carney Lansford, new A's Hall of Famer. That is awesome. Honoring guys that you got to see, because I'd like to say I got to watch the 70s teams, but I didn't. Definitely got to see Carney Lansford. You're in my wheelhouse now of 88, 89, 90. I'm in high school. Coming up, we're going to have Jason Giambi. I played against Jason Giambi in college, so that's now even a different part of the wheelhouse for me.
I just found out that Giambi just texted me. I think he's going to attempt to do us over video.
That's awesome. But Carney Lansford was, by the way, reinvigorate. I say revigorated. I meant reinvigorate. I knew when it came out, I went, I think I just made up a word.
Wasn't Brody on Carney and Terry Steinbach's team? Brody blow up Brazil.
No, okay. I am never going to forget. Right, we set up, and this is we set up. We're in the crow's nest, so we're in the middle of all the fields. We're up there. Camera's going. You can see the fields. We're doing the show. Literally, game started about a half hour ago, and we're warmed up. Arizona, weather's great. Fantasy camp, and all of a sudden, right in front of us, there was a stairwell that came up and around up towards us. And Brody Brazil can barely get up the stairs. And he's in uniform. And you're like, we're live on the air. And you're like, what the hell happened? He couldn't walk. He's dragging himself up the stairs. And we're like, cameras are on us, but we're looking at Brody. And Brody has to hug the stairwell and falls into the chair, which was the interview chair. And it was like, are you okay? He could not walk.
I was trying to see.
First at bat, very first at bat, Brody Brazil tries to beat out the ball to first base, blows out his hamstring. Very first AB. I'm surprised he got up the stairs to even get to us.
I know. I was looking to see because remember he airdropped us that video while we were there, and we played it while we were on the air. And
the one where he immediately grabs his hand.
Yeah, I thought we had it, but I don't have it on this computer still. But yeah, that was funny when he saw
that was brutal.
Yeah.
That was brutal. I mean, he was in pain, and Brody was in pain for well over a month. I mean, this isn't like a young professional athlete. You hurt your hamstring. You're now getting rehab on it. Every single day, you have dedicated trainers trying to get you better every single day. That's not, I mean, you get an injury like that, it's going to stay with. I hurt my hamstring water skiing. This was years ago, and it took me a while to finally get over it. So I can't even imagine how bad Brody felt, and because but he did.
He battled back.
He battled back. I want to say did he play in the championship or the runner-up game to the championship?
He was playing, yeah.
Couldn't give you much in the field. It was a Kurt Gibson-esque moment.
He didn't win the ESPY, I don't think, but he should have.
I thought it showed the courage of the great Brody Brazil in that at-bat. And that in his comeback run with that bad hamstring.
I'm surprised he hasn't got any looks from any other teams right now. The effort he put in.
Is he going to come back? He's probably not going to come back to fantasy camp.
We can text him later and ask him.
How's that hammy?
We're going to see in, what was it? Was it January? Yeah, January. I think I have the dates.
When is Jason Giambi?
5.
The Giambino.
Yeah, January 10th through January 16th, 2024. Wash is going to be there. I forgot about that.
You think about Giambi's numbers. A 277 batting average, 440 home runs, 1,441 RBIs, the MVP in 2000, and you could make a case he should have been the MVP in 2001. Of course, that was given to Ichiro. Everybody. Ichiro was like the new flavor of the month, right? It was like he showed up. It was something new. It was kind of Hideo Nomo-esque. Like, probably we didn't give Japanese, not probably, I know, we didn't give Japanese baseball enough credit back then. We wanted to think of Japanese baseball like it was AAA baseball, and it's not. Japanese baseball is a high quality, and not saying that AAA baseball is not high quality, but you had legit players, and when they came over here, and you were shocked. Look at the tornado. Do you remember that? Or are you too young?
I remember Nomo. I mean, later in his career.
When Nomo came over for the Dodgers, his first outing ever was against the Giants at Candlestick Park. This long extra innings game. But I remember being at that game because everybody wanted to see, what is this dude all about? Is he that good? And Nomo was nasty. And then same thing with Ichiro. Ichiro was terrible in spring training. Lou Piniella tells stories like, this guy can't hit. This guy's not going to be able to hit. This is going to be bad. This is going to be bad. And all he did was hit. You remember that first night out at the Coliseum? He has that great throw into third. And Dave Niehaus, the old play-by-play guy, it's like something out of Star Wars. Remember that?
Yeah.
Well,
was that Jermaine Dye throw out a third?
I do not even remember. What year was that?
2001.
2001?
Yeah.
Go look at you got Giambi's numbers, 2001. Look, he doesn't win the MVP, and these are his numbers.
He hit 342.
342.
He had 38 homers, 120 runs driven in, 129 walks, and a 1,137 OPS.
Shoot me those doubles.
47.
47. Okay, let's go over this again. 342, 38 jacks, 120 RBIs, 47 doubles, a 1,137 OPS. So his OPS is higher than the year before that he won it. He had 178 hits, walks 129. So he led the American League, OPS, slugging, on base, walks, and doubles, and he's not the MVP.
OPS plus of 199. Remember, league average is 100.
He's not the MVP. He has those numbers. He's not the MVP. Put it this way. If he was playing for the Yankees at that point, he would have been the MVP in back-to-back years. He should have been the MVP in back-to-back years.
His first year at the Yankees finished fifth in the MVP voting. That was the next year, and he 41 home runs, 122 driven in, 314 average, and 34 doubles. That run he had starting in 1999, till the end, or actually started in 98, and he drove in 110 and hit 27. It was an incredible run all the way through 2008 with the Yankees. Then at age 40, he still hits 13 home runs with Colorado.
Well, I that was the thing too about Jason Giambi late in his career is you just wanted him on the good teams wanted him on the team because he's now this wealth of knowledge. And that's where did it end up? Cleveland is where he finished.
Yeah.
And everybody was talking about this guy will make a great manager. One of the things about players that have been there and done that, you've been to the top, you've been to the bottom. Giambi is all of that. Remember the press conference where he's apologizing, but he won't say what he's apologizing for, and he's in tears. I mean, Giambi experienced everything in Major League Baseball. A guy like that is a wealth of knowledge. I mean, you talk about being a leader of men. Jason Giambi would be the type of guy that you could go into the manager's office and say, Skip, I got problems. And Jason Giambi can say, son, sit down, let's talk about it. He could be that guy. Could be a great leader. But Jason Giambi is from the era where guys made a boatload of money. They don't need to get back into uniform. They don't need to do the travel. They don't need to do the grind if they don't want to. I know his kids are still, we used to talk about his kids being young. They have to be older, but they're not, I don't think they're like nearing out of high school yet. So probably wants to be with his family, but maybe someday, because Giambi's a smart guy. Giambi's a fun guy. He'd be great to have back in baseball, whatever it is, just to have him back around, whether it's a manager, whether it's, the old bro deal where you're the special assistant to the general manager or the special assistant to the president. Get him one of those deals. But Giambi back in baseball would be great. But, man, that guy had pop. He had pop to all fields. He had opposite field power. He had an incredible eye. I mean, Jason Jett kind of turned himself into a pretty decent first baseman. He was a brutal third baseman in college. But at Long Beach State, second rounder by the A's, he was everything. He was on the Olympic team, right?
Also, I was going to say something. If anyone knows about his power, it was
he was in the Pan Am games.
Right? If anyone knew about his power, it was you.
Yeah, he had a 500-something foot bomb off me.
Probably one of the greatest stories I've ever heard on this program.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. That was at the old. They play now. They play at a place called Blair Field. It's a park in Long Beach, and it's an old minor league ballpark that a lot of people have played at. And they got this golf course there. They've held a bunch of tournaments. But I played against Giambi when they played on campus. This is going way back. My God, we're old. But yeah, they used to play on campus.
Which I think if he would have taken you deep at Muni, that ball probably would have been somewhere where the new Barracuda Arena is.
Well, that'd be center field. He took me deep right. He would have. Okay, if you guys know where
Sharks Ice, then
so you know where Sharks Ice is, and you know where San Jose Muni is, right? Where the San Jose Giants and San Jose State play. He would have hit it in the middle of the parking lot between the two. So he probably would have like 3-hop Sharks Ice. We're going boom, but he would have hit Sharks Ice. If there were no cars in that parking lot, it would have bounced and gone to Sharks Ice. He hit it so far. He hit it over the batting cages off of me. So it was already a big field, Long Beach State's Park back in the day. And then they had batting cages. He hit it over the batting cages off of me.
That's a long home run.
It's a long home run. He's Jason Giambi, for God's sakes. But Jason Giambi is a fan favorite. And I don't know what it would have been like if he never would have left, but it would have been great. I think it would have been great. If there was one guy that would have stayed for his entire career, it would have been a match made in heaven. Giambi was a great Oakland Athletic.
Just like a lot of them. He came back.
He came back. 2009.
Yeah.
Everybody comes back. That's why it's like funny when you talk to like Marcus Semien, guys that like didn't want to leave and it was a tough conversation. I remember at the winter meetings, wasn't winter meetings? I told Semien, I'm like, you'll be back. I will not be shocked before I retire if Marcus Semien plays for the Oakland A's again.
Oh, they're here next week. You can ask them about it again.
I'm not going to keep asking him about it. Hey, when you coming back? Even though how many years left on his deal does he have?
Oh,
it was a long deal.
It was a longer deal, yeah. Still has at least probably 4 or 5, right? Because I forget how many year deal he signed. It was 7? So I think he probably has.
Seegers was 10.
Yeah, 10 for 3 something.
Yeah, if there was anybody to come back and play for the A's, you'd be like, he has to come back and play one more time. It's got
7 for 175.
I had the years. It's got to be Marcus Semien.
Yeah, makes sense. I can see it.
His connection, because folks, Chapman could care less. Olsen, he's a Georgia.
He's
kid.
back home.
Yeah, to him, he's back home. Semien, Mark Canha would mean a lot to Mark Canha to come back and play here.
That's a Brewers great Mark Canha now.
I know. Him and Carlos Santana. How about that?
They got some.
I love.
Oh no, they got what's his name too?
Who's what's his name?
Up and then down and away, bounce the breaking ball.
Do it again.
Up and then down and away, bounce the breaking ball.
Andrew Chafin, that was our interview with him. Everybody's talking about, he wears the failed starter shirt. Oh, it's all that. And he's great. He's great. And he said this probably like 10 times.
Up and then down and away, bounce the breaking ball.
That's all he kept saying. I mean, oh, great. So, do you watch video? Do you do that? No. Unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that would be, I could see Mark Canha. I could see Marcus Semien. There's quite a few guys that I could see. And that's going to be a few years from now.
Yeah. Well, Canha's still out for this year, right? Well, maybe next year. Veteran leader.
Semien is a lead.
Yeah, it's still got a couple of leagues, 4 or 5.
Semien's 5 years away. It's definitely 5 years away. Do we have the American League MVP from 2000?
Hey, fellas, how you guys doing?
Hey, Jason Giambi, how are you? It is good to see you once again. Chris Townsend with the A's.
Good to see you, Chris. How you been?
I've been well. I was actually telling the story about how you took me deep in college back when Long Beach State, this is how old we are, back when you guys used to play on campus.
Oh, yeah. I remember playing. It was the old days.
The good old days. Well, I got, there was just something about you and the relationship and what I love so much about you going into the Hall of Fame, the A's Hall of Fame. It's truly your love. You love playing for this organization. You love the fan base. It's going to be fitting, and I know Sunday's going to mean a lot to you.
It's incredible. I'm definitely honored. I mean, the A's, Mr. Fisher. I mean, it's where you start. You always have those memories of where you start. And I mean, I got to play with all my heroes when I first got there, and from Mark to Eckersley to everybody else to the Hudson Mulder-Zito, like to make that transition and to be a part of some of those incredible teams. I mean, the fans that are there are die hard to die hard. I mean, they really are. And it was amazing to play there.
I think about 2000. I also think about 2001. I know you won the MVP in 2000, covered that year, covered 01. I think you're better in 01. Obviously, the new thing about Ichiro coming over, but just talk about those 2 years, because when you mix everything, when you mix batting average with power, driving the ball to left center, which was your signature, the doubles, the walks, you did everything, and you also didn't get enough credit for your defense. But talk about those 2 years specifically, how much they meant to you in your career and how good they were.
Well, they were incredible because my brother was there as well. And it was like Little League. It was like going to the park every day. Just I had never got a chance to play with him and to have that opportunity. I'll never forget that. And I think that's some of the reason. And that's the same year that I started dating my wife. So it was like my world had become complete. And it was, having a great time in the organization. It was incredible. And all these surrounding people that I had, I think that's what brought it through the roof, is just that it all came together. It all came together those 2 years.
And there's a special thing there too, where you think about, you saw it growing, right? You see these young pitchers and you had to think like, man, we got these young pitchers. Like you knew that you guys were going to be players in Major League Baseball, that you were going to factor in who the best teams are.
Oh, we would have been the Braves. There's no doubt. We would have been waiting forever because you still had Harden in the minors and all these other guys in the minor leagues that hadn't even got a chance to come to the big leagues yet. They were stacked. I mean, you just would have never had to get a free agent. I mean, that's how stacked they were in the minor leagues. You just bring up, insert them into the lineup, and that they could have learned. They would have had to learn it. You could learn underneath us. It would have been incredible. I mean, it really would have.
Later on, we never really realized. You just thought Mark McGwire was this great power hitter, right? Mark McGwire sets the record, and Mark McGwire had the rookie record. It's Mark McGwire, for God's sake. We didn't realize what a great hitting coach, the mental side, until he came back to baseball with St. Louis and LA and San Diego. We started to realize, wow, this guy's like a hitting savant. You got to see the early part of that when he was still a player. What was it like learning from Mark McGwire? Because obviously both of you guys are from Southern California. You knew he was already a star, but what did you learn from him?
Well, I followed him around like a puppy dog for about 4 years, and he took me under his wing. And from then, I got to see some of the greatest hitters of all time. I was still playing. Donnie was still playing in Winfield and Puckett and all these guys. And of course, Mark was a star of the game. So I'm just standing there listening to all these things. We would talk about hitting, go to lunch, talk about hitting, what to look for, what counts. And so you were constantly talking about the one part of our game that was the best all the time. So it's like mental notes, all that, and I always think that when you talk about it, he's talking about something, you also learn something as well. And I think that's why he started to skyrocket as well, because it's just when you kind of put those pieces together, the puzzle, sometimes there's like aha moment. We're like, oh, that works. That'll work for me. Or other times you're like, I don't really see that in my game. But that's where you start picking up pieces of the puzzle along the way, which sped up my learning curve like tenfold, because I didn't have to go through all the ups and downs as a young player when I had one of the best hitters in the game. And like you said, he didn't get enough credit for what kind of hitter he was. But then you're talking to the rest of the best hitters in the game. And there you are, like standing there just like, okay, having the time of your life, like you're that kid still getting the autograph and listen to him talk about hitting.
Now, you start thinking about when you started to become a star. When did you really start to notice it? Because all of a sudden, there was a lot of things about to be thrown your way early in your career. When did you start to sit back and go, wow, it's happening?
I think when Mark left and I went to first base, and then Matt Stairs and I were both standing there going, God, if we do the same things you with Hayes rookies with, we'll have nobody on the veteran bus. It'll be just you and I, you know, like, so we had to like welcome those young kids. Like, you know, I had to tell Heck the 7th inning, like, it's the 7th, that's when you get dressed. And I had to carry the beer and sit on the, you know, media bus and all this stuff, and had to sit in the toilet, you know, when I got finally invited. But we're like, it's going to be you and I on this bus. So we had to have a different approach of like welcoming these young kids and making them feel like a part of it. So that's how it became like a frat house, because you had all these young kids there having the time of your life. And then before you know it, you're like, you're young too. So, I mean, then it just all worked. Then the piece of the puzzle worked. That chemistry came together really fast.
Well, I think about the environment you guys set in that clubhouse, even long after you were gone, it never left.
No.
I think, yeah, it's like this fun, like, you know, baseball. God, these clubhouses were just so. A's clubhouse, it was fun. One thing, guys have remote control cars. There's stuff going on. Always stuff going on. That had to be something you had to love. That you were the big part of that, and that it didn't leave. Even probably when you came back in 2009.
No, thank you. But it's the guys. That's who makes it happen. It's just not one person. It's everybody buying into that kind of philosophy. Like, hey, we're gonna have fun, and there's enough time. Like when we hit the field, there's enough time to take care of business. But until then, we're gonna have fun, and you know, and that's what separated us differently from everybody else.
How tough was it to leave Oakland?
It was really tough. I had a deal on the table, and they had pulled it off, and then I played that whole year without a contract, you know, so that which opened the door to other teams. And at the end of the day, you know, I tried and it didn't work out. And I don't really blame anybody about more money than they bought the club for, you know, so I don't, you know, and then they also had young players and they were losing some other players. So that's just the hard thing about being in that small market until you got more revenue sharing and more things to pass on, you know, that's the tough thing about this game. And now I think with new TV contracts and, you know, internet and everything else, there's more money to be spread out throughout the game. I mean, you got teams like Tampa now who are doing amazing that are, I mean, you really look at it, they're still like a small budget, you know, but they spend money because they have money now. So, and they're winning. But the game has definitely gotten added that extra wild card. It's made it more exciting because now you have teams that are, I mean, there's a couple of years where we could have made a playoff if we had a second wild card. But that's what's made the game more exciting now because there's more teams in the hunt at the end. So you have more fan support. You have more people coming out going, hey, we got a chance. We're not that far back. And I think that's really picked up the game.
Yeah, if you think about 99, if we are where we are today, you guys would have made the playoffs in 99.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So then that brings that whole, you know, like, oh, then 2000 is a big year. Then 2000, you know, it's like then the fans get that excitement. You know what I'm saying? Because they're like, oh, all these guys are going to be back. All these guys are going to be back. And that's how you build, you know, like what Atlanta did. Cleveland did back in the early 90s and things like that with Tomei and Manny and then Boston. And that's how they just keep the ball rolling. And they just go get one player here, one player there, that homegrown guy. And so, I mean, even the AAA out here is exciting to watch, you know, and you go watch those guys play. You start to have this fan base that now you have A's fans everywhere.
What was the entire New York experience like? Because you went to New York after, let's face it, they had won those 3 straight World Series. They'd lost the World Series trying to make it 4 in a row against the D-backs, but they were still star-studded. They still wanted to win every single year. You go there as the big free agent. You're now a star, kind of like Reggie back in the day. I'm bringing my star to New York. What was the experience like?
It's like a traveling rock band. I mean, it really is. It's like you go in the hotels and they're packed, and you have Joe Torre and Derek Jeter and Mariano and Jorge Posada, and you have all these superstars among themselves, and you're getting a chance to play with some of the most incredible players of the game and the fans that are like I would always say, I went over 4. I didn't go home and sleep, but if the Yankees didn't win, they didn't go home and sleep. You know, it's like that's how they do. They live and die. I mean, they don't go to Met Stadium. They only go to Yankee Stadium, and they're diehards, man. And it's an honor to play in front of them. And it tests you as a player. It tests you as a person, because you have to stand up and take responsibility for your stuff. Like if you have a bad game, you have to talk to the media. You can't just walk out, and you got to answer the question. So it was a incredible experience, it's the mecca, of baseball. Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio. All the greats ever have played there as well.
One of the great parts about your career was the last parts of your career. And I remember interviewing you as a Colorado Rocky. And when all of a sudden Jason Giambi is not the star, Jason Giambi is not the everyday going to be the MVP guy, you are now the mentor. You are now the guy that you've seen it. You've had your ups, you've had your downs, you've had to deal with some emotional stuff, the press conference. You provide so much maturity for those teams and what you meant to the then Cleveland Indians and what you meant to the Rockies, for all these people. And we still talk about it today, going, the minute he wants back in this game, there's still people that think you'd be a great manager. Talk about the end of your career where now you truly are what Mark McGwire was to you.
Yeah, well, I literally played them the last 5 years of my 20-year career because of that, because I was willing to help the young kids. And I always thought it's a damn shame if I don't pass this on to someone else. It was passed on from Mark to me. And that's, I think, how you honor young kids after that. I had Michael Brantley and Kipnis and Todd Helton and Tulowitzki. And, you had all these incredible players I still got a chance to play with. That was so fun to watch, but they just needed to learn that learning curve of, to do things, to have those back-to-back seasons instead of one great year, one bad year, one great year, one bad year. So you can help them through their tough times. And I really, really enjoy it. It was so much fun to go to the ballpark and come off the bench and win games and hit home runs, as a pinch hitter. But I also had a chance to play for some of the greatest managers in the game. If you think about it, from Tony to Jim Tracy to Tito, Joe Torre, it goes on, the list goes on and on. Art Howe, it was phenomenal. These guys to watch day in and day out and listen to them talk and listen to how they maneuver guys or talk to guys. It was incredible. I had every portion of the game that I took the chance to look at, though. I really did. I loved the game so much. I took in every part of it. I just didn't go, all right, I'm not here to dig myself and whatever. I cared about my teammates. I cared about what was happening with the team, and it paid off. My son plays baseball, and they have a little travel ball team, and they went from coach pitch to real pitch, and then they started winning all the time. And it's it brings back the joy of what it's all about. I love it. I still get calls from guys today that, I'm struggling, dude, at 2 a.m. You can call me anytime, and we talk through it. And I talk them through off the ledge, but it's cool. I still have relationships in the game, which is incredible. To think about it, I'm 52, and these guys are still calling to ask for help. And I love every minute of it.
Well, last time I talked to you on the field, it was just a few years ago. I asked you the question. You talked about your kids.
Yep.
I'm going to ask you again. Anytime you want to come back, there's people who think you'll make a great manager. They think you'll roll right in.
I get the calls every year. You ready yet? You ready yet? And I kind of finally grew up. I have 4 children now instead of 3. So we have a 1-year-old. It took me a long time to grow up. But, it's starting to blossom out. I'm helping my son do his thing, still helping players. I've gone to some spring trainings, and, just to kind of get that, because when I want to do that, that's why I go down the rabbit hole. That's my wife always says, I know you. Once you go, you'll go down the rabbit hole, and I won't see you. So make sure when you're ready, we're ready to go with you, because we're not going to see you, because that's who I am, because I care deeply about the game. I really do. I love the game, and it has taught me so much as a man, as a young kid, as a human being. It's who I am today because of that game, and I think that's how you honor it.
You think about when you came to the Athletics way back when out of Long Beach State.
Yep.
And then on Sunday, you're going to be wearing that green jacket, and you'll be forever remembered as an Oakland A Hall of Famer. How emotional is this speech going to be for you?
It's going to be tough. The person that taught me the game, my dad's no longer around. My brother, who I've had some of the best years of my career when I was with, won't be there. So it will be emotional. Not only that, my kids never saw me play. Like they really didn't. My daughter was the oldest when I was in Cleveland, and she was born in 2011. I retired in 2014, and she remembers a little bit, but none of the other kids really remember me playing. I'm like the YouTube dad, like they watch me play on YouTube, or the video games, the video games that I was on cover. So it's got to be special. Like, my son loves baseball, like all on his own, and not even dad got involved with that. I said, if you want to play, buddy, it's up to you, and he just gravitated towards it, and he wanted to do it. I said, all right, if you want to do it, I'll teach you everything I know. And he's like a little stud. He's like 11U, and he's a grinder, man, too. I remember the first game he ever played, first game of Coach Fit. We played the number 4 team in Nevada. There, one travel ball team. This guy's throwing gas and drills him right in the back. First pitch of the first ever bat, drills him right in the back. He's a skinny kid too, so it's boom. I gotta pop it out of his chest, and I'm like, all right, buddy, you're either gonna come up your next bat and get a hit, or you're not, and we're gonna find you another sport. Then you'll be a baseball player if you get a hit. So he comes up next bat, lines one to left field, and I go, you're a baseball player. So he's never been scared after that again. He got that one right out of the way first at bat, and he's been well on his way.
Well, I know for a lot of fans, they're going to be so pumped to see you. And, you may be great on YouTube, but a lot of us remember you back in the Big West, how good you were at Long Beach State. And then, of course, what you did throughout the A's organization, the big leagues, whether it's the A's, the Yankees, the Rockies, the Indians, you name it. You had an unbelievable career. You're a great player. And you're going to be an Oakland A's Hall of Famer on Sunday. So we can't wait to see you. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Chris, it's such an honor to see you again, buddy. And thank you so much for everything. And I'm so honored to be on this show and being, really the first one to talk to, about this. And I'm honored. I really am.
It's going to be great. We'll see you Sunday. You be well.
All right, bud. You too.
The great Jason Giambi, now Oakland A's Hall of Famer. How cool was that, A's fans? Wow. That's going to be a powerful speech that I don't think you're going to be able to do in 2 minutes.
Probably not, no.
I mean, I kind of started getting choked up. You think about his father, that his brother is no longer with us, a former A, and how that went down recently. I can't imagine. It's going to be an honor to be there. He's always been somebody that has been great to me. And it's always, guys that I got a chance to play against. So I knew how good he was. And whatever the things that happen in baseball, they are what they are. But Jason Giambi is an all-time A's fan favorite. There's certain guys. I remember talking to Deidre, and it was recently.
Thank you, Deidre, for helping us get us Carney and Gene and Jason.
Deidre is the goods. You know what Deidre is? The straw that stirs the drink. The magnitude of her, the magnitude of what she means to the organization. And we were talking about it, still to this day, everybody loves Giambi. Everybody loves Canseco. Everybody loves McGuire. How do you not? How do you not love those guys? I mean, they gave you great thrills. Jose Canseco during his time was the biggest star in baseball. He was the biggest star in baseball. At one point in baseball, no one was bigger. Mark McGuire. He's Mark McGuire. Should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's a joke that he's not. Jason Giambi was a grade A. That was like a time teetering on. This is when the cable money was about to go nuts, right? The cable money was really there. New ballparks are being built, and certain teams just took off, right? The Yankees got the Yes Network. They got tons of money. And you heard there was a deal, not a deal. But this is going to mean so much to him on Sunday. This is going to be, I mean, all of them have been great, right? You know, when Vida Blue's going in, or Reggie Jackson's going in, or Ray Fosse, or, you know, just that they've all been great. They've all been great. Steve Vucinich. By the way, we got to get Vuce on.
We can both do it
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Got to get him on tomorrow, our A's historian. It's going to be emotional, though, man. You heard it right there. I mean, there's going to be a lot of tears. It's going to be tough, but it also shows you how much it means to him. And I hope we pack the house for it and honor these guys, these great Oakland A's, because they're going to be in the A's Hall of Fame forever. Forever. You'll always be remembered. That's what's so cool when you go to, like, teams' Hall of Fames. You go into those Hall of Fames, and those players are there.
You know, people always ask me, well, who my favorite interview we've ever done on this show was, and I tell them the same thing every time. It's Mark McGwire, and it's not even close.
That was really cool.
When he told us a story about how people still thank him for saving baseball and all that, that was, and we talked to him right before he went into the Hall of Fame
Mark
in 2019.
McGwire. Best interview we've ever done. We've done so many interviews, so many
My
people.
favorites, because
your favorite's Mark McGwire.
My first time falling in love with baseball was the home run race.
It was pretty damn good, and a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people still even bring it up.
Yeah, Bob Costas was great when we had Costas on. I mean, it's Bob.
Yeah, but Mark McGwire means more to us.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, for me growing up, it was him and Sosa, the home run race. Like that was my childhood.
Yeah, but for me, I remember being a real. I remember McGwire playing in the '84 Olympics at Dodger Stadium.
They're going to say,
USA.
They're going to say, remember him playing at USC with Jack Del Rio,
USC.
and Randy Johnson.
That was right about that time. Hey, let me tell you something. When I used to do the Silver and Black TV show, and I interviewed Jack Del Rio, I used to talk USC baseball with Jack Del Rio, who was the catcher. McGwire was first baseman. Randy Johnson was the pitcher, who had no idea where it was going.
Still love hearing that.
And he said, Jack Del Rio said it was frightening. Jack Del Rio's a monster of a man. Have you ever seen how big Jack Del Rio is? He's 6'5", 250. I mean, he looks like he can still play. But yeah, Mark McGwire, I remember watching him play in the Olympics. I mean, he was Mark McGwire. He was a star. It was tough to see him go to St. Louis. But yeah, but it was McGwire that helped forge Jason Giambi's career. And we just saw Mark McGwire last season when retired Dave Stewart's number. That, you know, it puts the generations all together, right? You're going to have the greatest generation of A's represented with Gene Tennis, three-time World Series champion. The next greatest generation of 3 straight World Series, won, but you went to 3 straight. My God, nobody goes to 3 straight anymore. Nobody. When's the last time we saw 2 in a row? You got to go back to the Yankees. I mean, we're talking about 98, 99, 2000, 2001. Well, I don't know, people, but 2001 has now been a long time. So you've got Carney Lansford representing that generation of A's, and now Jason Giambi kind of representing that Billy Beane, Moneyball, franchise, greatness type. Didn't win anything, but boy, played a huge part in baseball history. There's no question, with the book, with the movie, with the winning, with everything that was going on, that generation of A's players, where you start thinking about Miguel Tejada's an MVP, Jason Giambi's an MVP, Barry Zito would win a Cy Young. There's a lot of awards going around. There's a lot of quality play. There were great postseason games. A's always came short on those games, but there was still, that's definitely that A's group, because if there's a timeline, you can't tell the timeline of baseball without the A's, just not Oakland. You could probably go straight by Kansas City, but Philadelphia is a huge part. The Philadelphia A's are a huge part of baseball's history.
A pretty good manager there for a while.
And then Oakland is a huge part of baseball history in modern day baseball history because of the 3 straight in the 70s, because of the team in the late 80s, because of what we saw with the Moneyball era team. They're definitely, you can't tell the history of baseball without talking about the Athletics, to where, I mean, no offense, but we could really skip by the history of baseball without the Mariners. Really? We could skip. You could skip right by without the Mariners.
Oh, it's a lot of shade thrown at Dan Wilson. John Olerud.
You know, where's your Randy Johnson and your Griffey?
And A-Rod?
Never played in the World Series.
That's true.
They've never played in the World Series. I mean, even though the Marlins have won 2 World Series, almost like you just skip right over that. There's a lot of teams you could just skip right over. You could really skip right over the Milwaukee Brewers.
But they've been to 2, right?
Well, they've been to 1.
1, yeah, it was just
Harvey's Wallbangers.
Yeah.
That was it.
Sorry, I got them in your Padres confused.
Padres have been to 2.
2, yeah.
You could skip by the Padres. You could, if the Diamondbacks hadn't beat the Yankees, you could skip past that. But yet, Tampa Bay Rays,
Been to 2, did win.
if they don't win, if the Tampa Bay Rays don't win one, right, anytime soon, 20 years from now, who's going to care? I'm just saying, all these years of A's baseball, you can't tell the history of the game without mentioning these players and these teams. They are a part of the fabric of the history of the game. Just like the NFL, there's plenty of teams in the NFL, you can pass right by them and not mention them. We can go right past the New Orleans Saints without ever worrying about them. Now they won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they won the one. They had also had a big scandal there. Can't forget about.
Yeah. Bounty Gate.
Well, the NFL, you look.
NFL's got good scandals. Come on.
Yeah, but I'm talking about teams you think of. You think Patriots, Steelers, Cowboys, 49ers,
you got to have
Raiders.
a good scandal. The Raiders were always scandalous, even though there was no scandal, but they were always scandalous. Did you see that thing on Jack Tatum I sent you? They had to stick him. They said,
oh, yeah.
They had to outlaw stick him because Jack Tatum intercepted a ball because it hit his butt and stuck, and he didn't even know it was there. And they showed him he's down like this, and he's got stick him all the way. It's all the way on his ankles, on his face. It was the best. Football's the best. Football starts tomorrow, by the way.
Hall of Fame game.
Strap it on.
Jets, Browns. Nothing like Thursday night football, Jets, Browns.
Nothing says Cleveland and the secondary New York team. Yeah, I said it.
So Revis versus Joe Thomas. Is that what we're celebrating?
When's the last time the Jets won the Super Bowl?
This was a Super Bowl 3.
You want to go back to Joe Namath?
Was Super Bowl 3?
It was Super Bowl 3. You want to go back to Joe Namath wearing pantyhose? That's how long ago you got to go back. Yeah. Wearing a mink coat.
His high school rival.
Where was Super Bowl 3? Oh. Where was that Super Bowl? The most famous Super Bowl of them all. That'd be the Orange Bowl in Miami.
I was going to say Miami.
Which does not exist.
I was going to say.
Hey, by the way, how many Super Bowls have the Jets been to since?
None. I don't think so.
Richard Todd's not walking through that door.
Hey, Rex Ryan got him the 2 AFC title games.
So Todd Blackledge is not walking through that door.
Ken O'Brien.
Bernie Kosar. Boomer Esiason. Jet Great.
Chad Pennington.
God. But yeah, seriously, right? You can't tell the history. There's a lot of teams you could skip right over. Royals, not true. Royals of the late 70s, early 80s played a prominent role in the game.
Yeah.
Win the game in television. So they would be in there. Your Pirates would be in there. Orioles would be in there. Jays got to be in there. Obviously, Red Sox.
Skip past the Nats.
Got to have, if it wasn't for the big three of the real big three, Maddox, Smoltz, Glavine. I mean, the Braves won every year. You can't, they're a part of it.
God, I would say so.
Astros skip right by their ass.
Skip by the Phillies. What are those losers?
Texas Rangers, you really could tell the history of baseball without the Texas Rangers. Let's be honest.
I could tell.
And can't we tell the history of baseball without the California Angels of Anaheim, of Los Angeles? They don't even know what their name is anymore. We could punt the Angels. They talk about regulation and soccer. We could punt the Angels. Shohei Ohtani, Trout out. We could punt them right out of the league. No one would care. Is that a little much?
A little much. I think I could tell. I could tell my future kids the history of baseball without talking about the Philadelphia Phillies.
Ooh.
Or the Flyers.
What about Michael Jack Schmidt and Pete Rose and
How many World Series?
They won one, 1980. Tug McGraw.
One
out of
World
Vallejo. Tug McGraw was from Vallejo.
He's some of the greatest players of all time. He won one World Series. Huh? One.
They won one. How are your Pirates?
They won two with some of
All right, Jason Giambi, A's fans, was that great? All right, I agree. Mark McGwire might be the best interview we've ever done here. It's one of them. I think we can put that one up there right there.
Joe Morgan goes up there. That was a good one.
Might have been Joe Morgan's last. Vida Blue, that might have been Vida's last.
Yeah. There's a whole – I mean, we have the whole list of the guys we've had on. We've had so many Hall of Famers. Rod Carew.
Great Rod Carew.
We had Louis T on before.
I remember taking a pic. Brent Musburger took a picture of me with the I was going to say the trophy, with the statue out in front of Target Field. Picture that. Brent Musburger in a Raiders hat. No one knows who he is. And I'm like, I'm with the greatness. What do you win? 8 batting titles? 7 batting titles? Carew? 7 or 8?
I mean, Angels great Rod Carew.
No, that'd be Twins great Rod Carew.
He won 7.
7. Yeah. Brent Musburger took a picture of me taking a picture with the Rod Carew statue. I was walking up. I'm like, I'd never been to Target Field, right? And I'm walking up. I'm like, Rod Carew statue. I got to take a picture of that. Now, sadly, Rod Carew, when I was a kid, was a California Angel. So was Reggie. I hate to.
Correct. Yeah.
I don't remember Reggie as an A. I don't really remember. I barely remember Reggie as a Yankee. Reggie was an Angel. They were giving him that. Do you know Reggie Jackson's deal? He got part of the gate. He got part of the attendance.
I remember Reggie's an Oriole.
Oriole, great Reggie Jackson. Hey, on your thing,
Immaculate Grid, yes.
Immaculate Grid.
They're sending me a free T-shirt, by the way.
Oriole Angel, Oriole A, Oriole Yankee. You're what?
They're giving me a free T-shirt.
Why?
Because when they started Immaculate Grid for basketball, I was one of the first people to respond with a really good score, and they're like, "Oh, you're one of the first 3 people to respond. You're getting a free T-shirt." I'm like, "That's all that matters. Free."
Coming up next, we have a 5 o'clock or 5.
Eno's here, yeah.
We need a break though. Sorry, yeah. Eno will be back in a second. The great Eno Sarris will be back next, right here on A's Cast Live. This is Chris Townsend and Commander Cody for Link Soul. You got to go to their website right now, linksoul.com. The new polos are unbelievable. New colors, lighter weight. We got our new summer shipment, Cody.
I couldn't be happier. I look better, all thanks to Link Soul.
So we're talking about new polos. You can check out their shorts, anything you need for summer. They have it right now. When you go to their website, they've got a smoking summer deal. Go to linksoul.com. That's linksoul.com.
Chevron with Techron has unbeatable engine cleaning power, and it gives you unbeatable mileage for all kinds of unbeatable destinations, like time in the sun at the beach, or time in the sun riding roller coasters, or a day in the sun hiking mountains. Well, probably just one mountain would be enough for a day, but hiking a mountain is still an unbeatable choice for how to spend time. Download the Chevron app now to get unbeatable mileage at locations near you.
This is Chris Townsend, and if you're looking for a great place to eat and watch games, go see my friends at the Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek. The Chicken Pie Shop is one of the hottest restaurants in Walnut Creek. You're not going to find a better menu, and come try their world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 86 years. Spacious indoor and outdoor dining, perfect for your next private party or corporate event. Don't forget free parking. For more information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
It's Kids Cheer Free all summer long. Bring your kids ages 14 and younger to the ballpark on Sunday home games for free. After the game, race around the bases with Stomper on the same field that your favorite A's players do. Get your tickets now at athletics.com/kidsfree.
My friend Tom's family only uses wireless for home internet, so it can be mad slow when everyone's online. But we get fast, reliable internet from Xfinity, so I can game with basically no interruptions. Ooh, it just leveled up. Now through September 21st, new customers can get 1.2 gig internet with unlimited data included on the Xfinity 10G network for just $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract when you add Xfinity Mobile with unlimited data at regular rates. Go online, call 1-800-XFINITY or visit a store today. Requires PayPal split and auto pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity internet. After promo, regulars apply to internet service and devices. Actual speeds vary.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is the #1 brand of online mattresses and the Bay Area's favorite mattress store. Take home the Easy Breather pillow. The New York Times calls it their #1 pick. You can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Green and Gold fans, use the coupon code Oakland and you get 10% off your entire order. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
Streaming from the town, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
Do you have the man's open, ready to rock?
The Eno Sarris Show is sponsored by Fieldwork Brewing Company. With 8 taproom locations in Northern California, Fieldwork brings you fresh craft beer direct from the source. Fieldwork will also ship beer direct to your door if you live in California. Visit fieldworkbrewing.com.
Hello, Eno Sarris. How are you?
I'm good. Good. Now that's all over with.
With the sponsorship, your great sponsorship?
No, the trade deadline.
The trade deadline. Yeah, it's kind of like you went out to dinner. You thought it was going to be like, oh, this meal's going to be so good. You have it. You walk out, you get home, and someone asks you, hey, how was that restaurant? You go, it's all right.
Yeah, I thought it was a little bit more on the dud side, but yeah, that's about, without the Mets, if the Mets had not taken part, if the Mets had not sold, it would have been one of the worst trade deadlines ever.
We were trying to debate. I'm like, is Grichuk the best position player? Right? He's got to be.
It was really light on position players. Yeah, I mean, maybe Heimer Candelario. I don't know.
Yeah, that's hard. And the Mets thing, it's so, well, first of all, I think it's going to change the sport. You had a team go all in, 330 plus million. Forget the highest payroll in baseball. It's the highest payroll in the history of American sports, in any sport. And within 4 months, they're dumping it, realizing, abort. And you're just wondering, this whole analogy of, and I love this analogy, flying the plane and trying to refuel as the plane's in the air. Hard to do and very dangerous, but it's kind of where everybody's going, right? After these past couple of
threading the needle.
Everybody's like, they're starting to realize, do I really want to offer Carlos Correa 13 years or Xander Bogaerts or Trey Turner? Man, the Mets, what they did, I think you're going to start seeing, in the future, and we'll talk about the winter meetings in Nashville months from now, but I just have a feeling where this sport is going to go if the Padres don't make the playoffs and they've guaranteed all this money. Mets did everything they could to. They didn't really dump it. Well, they dumped the money into the laps of the Rangers and here, take our players, but obviously
and our money.
And it's going to help them, though, off the luxury tax, which from a baseball accounting thing, I don't understand.
Well, I mean, I agree that it may change baseball, but I think I may agree. I think it may change baseball in a different way. I'm sort of thinking about the fact that the Mets just bought prospects. They just they're paying $90 million of the Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander deals going forward. And for that $90 million, they got 3 prospects that are back-end top 100 guys. By the math, what we think those prospects are worth, they overpaid a little, but they also did get some luxury tax savings that sort of made it all work out.
That's the big thing that us, because we're not baseball accountants, right?
Yeah.
We don't know exactly, because that might save, because then you get rid of Canna and you get rid of Pham and you get rid of everybody. I don't know how much. I have a feeling, though, we're going to figure out that they saved a lot of money getting under these, whatever the couple. I think they're going to go down a couple of these thresholds.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, they still have about $300 million on the payroll for next year. It's just that 150 of it will be playing elsewhere.
It's crazy, right? How it affected them. Just wanting to dump money affected the entire American League West race, infected the entire American League playoffs.
I do wonder if teams will be mad about how sort of brazenly they just bought prospects, but I think that it was I think it was the right move for them. They chose a path and they went all in on that path, and they got the most they could. And now, I would say that they went from a mediocre sort of, close to the middle farm system to one that, is probably closer to the top 10. And they did that in all of a sudden in one trade deadline. So I think they did well. It's a little bit better for me than like what the White Sox did, which they're like, no, we want to be good next year. So we're not going to trade anybody that would actually get us any prospects. We're only going to trade, all our rentals away. And, they got a double-A catcher. They did okay, but people are not sure he can catch. And I doubt he's going to be playing for that team next year. So, the Mets went all in. I like that.
Okay. So you like what they did?
I kind of do. I mean, they decided to sell and they got as much as they could out of it, and they used the money that's their biggest resource. They use that money to buy prospects.
Okay. Rangers, Astros, obviously the big moves. Which one did you like better?
I've got a piece coming out tomorrow where I look at the numbers, I look at the projections and how they changed before and after the trade deadline. And I think that I have the Astros as making the number one biggest impactful move, like in just one move, the Justin Verlander move. And it's partly because you have to think about teams as full depth charts, 26-man rosters, 40-man rosters. What they did was take Ronel Blanco, Brandon Belock, like that's not a great situation. And they made that Justin Verlander. So that was a huge leap in terms of what the projections say Justin Verlander is going to do. It was a huge leap for them as a team. So number one, most impactful move, Justin Verlander. Number one team in terms of acquiring talent, obviously the Rangers. They go and get multiple arms, Aroldis Chapman, Jordan Montgomery, and Max Scherzer. And that was their weakness of their team. That's a team that can really score runs. And they got better with the arms. I do have a couple secrets in there, a couple surprises.
And they got Stratton. That will help as a reliever. And at the very end, Austin Hedges picked up behind the dish because Jonah Heim's been hurt.
Not sure what, yeah.
Yeah, so they got all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. There were a couple teams that did smaller moves that moved the needle just by, frankly, being not that good.
Yeah.
The Brewers I'll give away some of it, but the Brewers managed to change their projections the most, and they only got Carlos Santana, Mark Canha, and Andrew Chafin. That's not stars, but guess what? They did not have anything in those places. Those are really important places for them. They really made impactful moves by taking something that was not good and making it okay. So the Brewers deadline was one I think that was really underrated. Nobody's really talking about that because, you don't talk about it because you don't think about those guys as stars. And Mark Canha, is always one of those, I think, underappreciated guys, can really get on base for you, is a better defender than you think. And the power comes and goes, but he's a good player.
You add to the fabric of your team versus bringing in the big fish. And you look at the big trade deadline winners, 2018, it was the Dodgers with Manny Machado. They didn't win. 2019 was the Astros with Greinke. They didn't win. 2020, can't count 2020. 2021 was Scherzer and Trey Turner, the Dodgers. They didn't win. And then last year was Soto, Bell, Hader, and Drury, and the Padres didn't win. So just because you win the deadline doesn't mean you're going to win the World Series.
The flip side is that every World Series winner has made an addition, at the trade deadline. So that
fabric, right?
You got to add to the fabric. And the one that I think of as being like, oh, that was a great trade deadline was Alex Anthopoulos the year the Braves won. Jorge Soler, Adam Duvall, and Eddie Rosario. None of those guys are stars. They didn't win that trade deadline, but that was their starting outfield when they won it all, and all those guys have their different flaws. They were all super cheap to get, and they all, played a decent enough outfield that they won it all. So that's why I kind of like the Brewers. The Brewers kind of remind me of that, of just, hey, we have these three needs, and there's these three guys out there that are not going to cost that much. Let's get those guys.
By the way, Houston won earlier today. So right now, they're tied atop the AL West. You go back to, I had the date here, June 28th, the Rangers had a 6-game lead. So if the Rangers lose, right now they're up 2-0 in the bottom of the second, but if they lose tonight, the Astros will be in first place. Wow, it's the AL West has gotten crazy.
Yeah, did you see how much talent came into the AL West? Like I think the three most buyingest teams were in the AL West.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting that they identified this division maybe as gettable. Maybe they saw that the Rangers are going to come back to earth, and they don't think the Astros are as good. But the Astros went out and got Verlander, so it's gonna be a good race, I think.
Well, I mean, you just look at the Houston Astros have been to the ALCS 6 straight years, 4 World Series appearances and 2 titles. And the AL West, there's been times we've been super competitive. It's just like everybody talks about East, and you forget how competitive the AL West is. But I had to ask you, there's got to be a couple teams, and I just, I know how your great mind works, where you just got to be going, what the hell are you guys doing?
2 teams are my big losers, the Orioles and the Reds. And the reason that I say this is not that they didn't go and get a big rental like a Lucas Giolito or anything like that. But what I think they should have done is something that the Rays did. The Rays went and sent Kyle Manzardo, a legitimate bat prospect, to the Guardians for Aaron Savali. Now, I'm not saying they should have gotten Aaron Savali. You can have your own opinions about whether or not Aaron Savali is good or not. I think he's pretty good, but whatever. My point is they should have done something like that. There were names out there. The Mariners were dangling pitchers. The Marlins are always dangling pitchers. And the Guardians traded a pitcher. So those are 3 teams that might have traded a pitcher if you gave them a good enough bat prospect. What do the Reds and Orioles have? They got bat prospects coming out of the woodworks. They can't even put them on the team. They've got – the Reds have Noelvi Marte. They don't have anywhere to put them on their team. They've got such a stacked lineup with young guys. The Orioles are just flush with young position talent. What they should have done is taken this time to go get a controllable starter that'll help them going forward. Because I love Hunter Green. I love Grayson Rodriguez. They have some talent in those rotations, but they don't really have bankable veteran innings. And, to have that for this year and a couple years would have been worth a real prospect. I mean, the Rays showed us that it was worth a real prospect.
That takes me back to the graphic yesterday, and it's been shown again today. Obviously, they worked hard on this MLB Network, and I was watching it. They put this graphic up, and you've worked at MLB Network before. You know how it's like. They had the panel of 5 guys. And when they put this graphic up and Dan O'Dowd was leading it, the former GM, everybody just went, whoa, I cannot believe that. It's this. Since 2013 to 2022, prospects traded is 573. Out of those 573 players that are impact guys, only 3% became impact players. Only 10.8% became guys that played a lot. Regular. And then from 2013 to 2018, 29% of those guys never even made to the big leagues at all. Not even 1 inning, 1 at bat, 1 inning.
Yeah. I totally believe that. I've seen a number also that sort of 25% were, even had positive WAR for 2 years in the big leagues. So even contributed, even made it to the big league. So, it's this. People don't understand that prospects in general have a 50-50 bust rate. Even top 100 prospects, even good prospects, it gets a little better at the very top. The top 10 have a better than 50-50 chance. But if you take the top 100 as a group, they have a 50-50 chance of making it. So prospects in general, not as bankable as people think, And then you always get like pop-up guys that weren't prospects, but now they're good, So that's how the league is made up. But then if you trade them, what happened is a team said, we see some stuff here. We're not sure, So it doesn't surprise me at all that it's not 50-50 in the traded population. They decided, yeah, you can have this guy. So I would assume it was a little bit less than 50-50. And I think that to some extent we've gone too far on the prospect hugging. And, I think we sometimes value team control too much. I mean, Kyle Manzardo was a big a get for the Guardians, and it was because Aaron Savali has another year or two. But that depends on how good do you think Aaron Savali is. So I just think I think that there's something going on here where people think of prospects as sure things, and it's definitely not true.
No, it's not. And then you look at some teams, and you mentioned Baltimore, you mentioned Boston. How you feeling if you're a Yankees fan? And then you hear about Domingo Germán today going to be going to work on. He's got a problem with alcohol, and he's going to go get some help. And good luck to him. But if you're a Yankee fan, what are you thinking right now?
That's sort of why I like the Mets in opposition to the Yankees, because the Mets looked around and said, "Nah, we're going to actually sell," and they took a path and they went it. The Yankees took the no path. They got one rental reliever, Kenyon Middleton from the White Sox, and that was it. Maybe they just didn't think that they would get much for their guys. I think there's a dual-edged sword of Yankee fandom pressure, which is this. They expect you to make the playoffs every year, and they have for 6 or 7 straight years they've made the playoffs, but they also don't think that's enough, And so if you're Brian Cashman and you're looking at this team, you can say, well, I'm not sure this is a World Series team, so I'm not going to spend a lot to improve it. But are you going to sell and maybe miss the playoffs? And when do they start calling for your job? I mean, they already are.
No, yeah, they're Brian Cashman. No matter what Brian Cashman does, yeah, I mean, it's like they've like the Mets. They can kind of go through a rebuild. Like Steve Cohen, it seems like they made that decision. They're going to do it. Just like the Yankees can't do that now. They position themselves not to do that. I'll give you another team. How about the Twins?
Yeah, they could have done way more than. I mean, I don't even know. Did they do something?
Not really.
I'm trying to think. I don't think they did anything.
No.
And they're in first in their division, but it's a tough division. I mean, the team that they're battling for the division with sold basically.
Yes. And they're still battling with them. That's like, you pretty much get a little bit of help and you pretty much guarantee your path to the playoffs.
I was surprised they didn't get a Tommy Pham or Mark Canha because a right-handed outfielder would have helped them. They have a bunch of left-handed guys in the outfield, but they also have a right-handed guy named Byron Buxton who hasn't been playing well. And there was a sort of quote from Derek Falvey that was like, those guys in that room need to perform better. And I don't like how that tries to absolve him of any guilt of not doing anything at the deadline. Oh, it's, I could do whatever I wanted, but those guys have to play better. It's on them, I don't like that aspect of it, but in some ways I agree, because what they have is Carlos Correa and Byron Buxton really underperforming. And, if your stars are going to underperform that badly, you're just going to, at some level, you have to hope that they'll get it back together.
I kind of put the Giants and the Mariners. I know Jerry DiPoto was like, yeah, we're going to be buyers and sellers. But you kind of like walk away going, what the hell did people do? Like they did a deal together. Like AJ Pollock has been hurt.
I think the Giants had the worst deadline. I mean,
what the hell were they doing? What's Farhan? But wait a minute, they're going to mix and match and make sure they get their lefty righty matchup in the third inning. I'm like, what's going on?
No, what I really dislike about it is that AJ Pollock trade was a waiver claim disguised as a trade. I mean, they could have waited 2 days after Canzone comes over. They would have released Pollock and they could have claimed him. So I don't think that was actually a trade. So I'm going to give Farhan 0 trades at the deadline. I'm not going to give him credit for the Pollock trade. He did 0 trades at the deadline.
We're taking that off the board.
Yeah. Maybe he had a bad taste in his mouth from the Chris Bryant acquisition, but that's what they should be doing, because they do have mix and match, and they have such a team that they could literally get a quote unquote rental star. Maybe that wasn't available. We were just talking about the best bat that moved to the deadline was Mark Canha or Randall Grichuk. So maybe they just didn't think that would solve things for him. However, they went and got AJ Pollock and said we needed a right-handed outfielder. And the 3 top guys that moved were right-handed outfilders, Pham, Grichuk, and Canha. So they could have gotten one of those guys, and it probably would have been better than Pollock. So and then their opponents in this race, the Arizona Diamondbacks, the ones that they're playing right now, go and get Tommy Pham and go and get Paul Sewald and go and get better. So I know what they're doing. I mean, maybe this is a transition to the young guys on the Giants. Maybe they don't project the Giants to be as good as their record so far. Maybe they're saying we're not this good, so we should just,
that thing. Wow, that's kind of a defeatist mentality, right? By the way, one of the biggest shockers in baseball, Mitch Haniger, is still hurt. So,
hey, he got hit by a pitch.
Right. The Cal Ripken of the outfield, Mitch Haniger.
No, you got it. He got hit by a pitch.
He's always healthy. Yeah, I mean, if you're a Giants fan, I'd be furious. I mean, there's been a lot of talk. I get it. You offered. I mean, first of all, the one guy that accepted your deal, now you realize what an awful, awful deal Carlos Correa would have been for 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a Giants fan and, if we ever get a chance to kick him, we're going to kick him. It's just like, what are they doing? What's the game?
They seem like they're always the bridesmaid. Is nobody taking their money because of taxes or because of some, idea of what San Francisco is, which I just don't agree with. I know there's this idea of San Francisco is, somehow in ruin, I love the city, I
was in Hawaii and a couple of Uber drivers were like, Bay Area, and immediately there is all you got to do is look at tourism, and it's down over 30%. San Francisco hotels are down. Every tourism is way down. San Francisco is an international fashion place, and they just closed their major mall, Nordstrom's, all of them. See you later. Yeah, there's the public perception of San Francisco is not good.
It's weird though, because my perception of it when I'm in it yes, there has its problems, but it's
going
very
to bars.
Similar.
Oh, that's the problem. You're just saying
I'm going to bars. Well, the bars are as derelict as they've ever been. I don't know what they're talking about.
Nothing's changed. What is that?
I still got great beer here.
I love the smell in this place. It's a great place to party. There's no question about it. But yeah, it's does that really affect players?
I don't know. It seems like they were in on Judge, and maybe the Judge was just using them to get his price higher. They were in on Correa, and Correa.
It's not like the Bronx is Beverly Hills.
What I heard was, right. Yeah, but you can live somewhere else.
Far away.
Yeah, but I guess that could be. That's true here too. Like you could live in Marin, or you could live wherever. Like it's a whole Bay Area.
You live in Walnut Creek, for God's sake.
Yeah, you don't have to live in the middle of the Panhandle.
Are you telling me Mets players are living in Queens?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
No.
So I don't know what it is, but taxes are a big deal. But I had a solution for them.
By the way, that's a big deal. I
had a fun solution, and I did talk to.
Let me say this real quick. My buddy who's an NFL agent, one of the top ones in the business. He has a lot of big-time players. He started bringing that to my attention years ago, going, oh, taxes, California, 13.3%. It's a major deal.
Yeah. I tried to float a solution. I had a person in the front office say that
we have a tax solution by Eno Sarris.
Here's the idea.
I love this.
So you're trying to sign a person who lives in Florida, lives in Texas, where there's no taxes, right? Yeah. Give him $50 million right away. $50 million signing bonus in Texas, in Florida. They get all of that without having to pay anything in Texas or Florida.
I don't think it works that way.
Well, it does. You pay where you earn it, and when you get your paychecks, you pay where you earn it. So you get your weekly paycheck.
So if a California LLC pays you $50 million,
and you receive it in Texas, you're getting it in Texas.
Are you sure about this?
I was told that this might work from a player side. This is what I was told from the team side. I don't think
I'm immediately moving to Florida and having the A's pay me.
Well, they said they don't think ownership would be like, hey, yeah, let's get $50 million hard cash together right now. That's not how team ownership works either. You know what I mean? It's not like they have $50 million sitting around. They bring money in and they put money out, but they don't necessarily have $50 million like just sitting there to be like, oh yeah, we'll give Judge $50 million up front and everything else on the back end.
Well, here's an interesting one. So when John Gruden signed that 10 years, what was it 10 years, $100 million deal? Majority of all that was backloaded when the team would be going to Nevada. He barely made anything. Barely the 2 years in Oakland, there's barely any money that he made. He made a little bit, but
and maybe that was partially because the taxes are different in Nevada.
Totally. That's exactly why they did it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you could do something like this, but you know, it is something that comes up. Sabian talked about it a lot. You know, he said it was a reason that people said no. So I think you got to do something, you know, creative on it.
Do you know the first player I ever heard?
Oh, you actually could backload. You could backload like we were talking about. The Washington Nationals backloaded Scherzer and Strasburg. What if you just backloaded a lot and be like, when you're done here, move home and you get all that stuff tax free?
I gotta see how it works. I don't know.
I think it works that way.
You're getting paid by a California team, so because you are technically like
you don't pay taxes on what you pay. You pay taxes on what you get. So if you're a retired player and you're living in Texas and you're just getting $10 million a year from the Giants, why would you pay California taxes? You're just living in Texas. You're retired.
Well, you only pay California taxes when you play in California.
That's what I'm saying. And when you get the signing bonus or you get the backloaded stuff, you're not playing there.
So in the NFL, all their contracts have signing bonuses.
Yeah.
That's
partially the reason.
You know what? I could get the answer to that. Let me get the answer to that, because there might be people out there who know tax more than us going, you sports guys are idiots. That's not how it works. Let me check it. I will check this because I'm interested in it, because clearly it was Gary Sheffield. If you remember the Mike Piazza trade from LA to Florida, it was the first time I ever heard it, where Gary Sheffield, to okay the deal, needed LA to pay him more money because he was going to lose money because of taxes.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, that's pretty smart.
Yeah, right. Totally.
So, I mean, think about it. If you're talking, I mean, just people don't want to think about this. Look how much more. It was like $9 million or something, because the deal for 5 years, $95 million, was the same for Pablo Sandoval with the Giants and the Red Sox. They had the same deal, but the Red Sox deal was worth a lot more because it's a flat state tax in Massachusetts of 5%. But just think about this.
Yeah, when you start getting that 300 million and stuff, like, of course, like 5-10% makes the difference.
So if I play for, like, let's just say the San Francisco Giants, I'm going to get taxed for the 81 games that I play at Oracle Park. I'm going to get taxed the California rate in LA, the games against the Dodgers, San Diego, Oakland, and Anaheim.
Yeah.
If I play in Florida, I only get taxed on a West Coast trip. Yeah. So the amount of money that you make somewhere else in taxes is really unbelievable.
Yeah,
and
it really is.
Fans don't want to hear it. They go, oh, you know, it's only $8 more million. You're like, it's $8 million.
Yeah, I had a friend, you know, who's in lobbying, that was saying that it wouldn't be a terrible idea to try to lobby the state, you know, for the A's situation, to lobby the state to help come in and use some of the money they make specifically off of baseball players in taxes to help, you know, whatever, create the stadium situation in Oakland.
All righty, we got to get going. Yeah. Now, are you sad? Deadline's over. We don't have the waiver process.
No, I mean, you know, just pencils down. Although I think maybe we could delay, the whole thing maybe a week or something and get a better sense of who's buying and selling.
I like pencils down. Everybody's like, oh, test is over. I don't have half my answers. All right, buddy. Next week, rocking and rolling. Hey, by the way, we got to get some commercials starting tomorrow. We're recording tomorrow. Be ready to rock.
All right.
All righty. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
The Eno Sarris Show is sponsored by Fieldwork Brewing Company. With 8 taproom locations in Northern California, Fieldwork brings you fresh craft beer direct from the source. Fieldwork will also ship beer direct to your door if you live in California. Visit fieldworkbrewing.com.
All right, what do you want to do? You want to break, or do you want to go to Brian Kinney now?
Let's break, and then we'll play Brian Kenny.
Coming up next, Brian Kenny from MLB Network. Love BK. He's next right here on A's Cast Live. This is Chris Townsend and Commander Cody for Link Soul. The new summer colors and prints are in stock. The new polos, lightweight, all the colors you want. Fabulous. We got our new order.
My wife is so happy that I'm dressing so much better, all thanks to Link Soul.
You name it, whether it's polos, whether it's shorts, anything for your summer needs, you need to revamp your wardrobe. You go to linksoul.com, and they got great summer deals. Go to linksoul.com. That's linksoul.com.
Chevron with Techron has unbeatable engine cleaning power, and it gives you unbeatable mileage for all kinds of unbeatable destinations, like time in the sun at the beach, or time in the sun riding roller coasters, or a day in the sun hiking mountains. Well, probably just one mountain would be enough for a day, but hiking a mountain is still an unbeatable choice for how to spend time. Download the Chevron app now to get unbeatable mileage at locations near you.
If you're looking for a great place to eat and watch games, go see our friends at the Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek. The Chicken Pie Shop is one of the hottest restaurants in Walnut Creek. You're not going to find a better menu, and come try their world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 86 years. Spacious indoor and outdoor dining, perfect for your next private party or corporate event. Don't forget free parking. For more information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
Summertime is golf time in the Bay Area, and that means it's time to enjoy the beautiful vistas, 27 holes of championship golf, and all the amenities that Cinnabar Hills Golf Club has to offer. Cinnabar Hills gives you a variety on the course and in their amazing grill. They're ready to give you an incredible experience for any family, business, or social gathering. Nestled in the quiet hills of San Jose, summertime fun awaits you at Cinnabar Hills Golf Club. Learn more at cinnabarhills.com. That's cinnabarhills.com.
And the underdogs Oakland Athletics win their first championship since they were in Philadelphia in 1930.
Hi, I'm Raleigh Fingers, Hall of Famer, three-time World Series champion with the Oakland A's and World Series MVP. Winning takes teamwork, skill, and heart. So when you need an ace for a personal injury lawyer that will win you the game, go with the winning team. Call Venardi Zerata at 833-VZ-FOR-ME or go to vzlawfirm.com. Venardi Serrata, the official injury law firm of the Oakland A's.
Like sports, business is about winning. Championship decisions are business decisions based on what it takes to help your company win. And that's why there's UBO Business Services, specializing in helping you win every day by streamlining workflows, managing documents, and providing the best-in-class office technology. Make your championship decision with UBO Business Services. Visit them at ubeo.com. That's ubeo.com.
If you're looking for the latest green and gold gear for the 2023 season, then look no further than athletics.com/shop for your officially licensed gear. That's athletics.com/shop.
My friend Tom's family only uses wireless for home internet, so it can be mad slow when everyone's online. But we get fast, reliable internet from Xfinity, so I can game with basically no interruptions. Ooh, it just leveled up. Now through September 21st, new customers can get 1.2 gig internet with unlimited data included on the Xfinity 10G network for just $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract when you add Xfinity Mobile with unlimited data at regular rates. Go online, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires PayPal still in an auto-pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity internet. After promo, regular supply to internet service and devices. Actual speeds vary.
Innovation is at the core of Cal State East Bay, like at our Green Biome Institute, where faculty and students preserve genetic information from California's endangered plants, or how we open doors for local entrepreneurs at our Small Business Development Center. From educators to nurses to STEM professionals, Cal State East Bay has real impact throughout the region's neighborhoods, boardrooms, and the entire economy. Be part of the innovation. Connect with Cal State East Bay at csueastbay.edu/impact.
Is convenience a state of mind or a real thing? At Extra Mile, it's a real thing, and it's in everything they do. The stores are spacious, organized, clean, and well lit, so you can get in quickly, get what you need, and keep going. It's just what you'd expect from a place serving up the hot and fresh food and snacks you love. So treat you right, and check out Extra Mile's fresh take on the convenience store experience. Extra Mile convenience stores at select Chevron and Texaco locations.
The A's YouTube page is your go-to destination for A's video content. Get access to great highlights, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, classic games, A's Cast Live, and more. Visit youtube.com/athletics.
A's Cast Live continues from the studio. Here's Chris Townsend.
A's Cast Live. You can watch him weekdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, on the best baseball show that there is on MLB Network, MLB Now. Plus, MLB Network's got the Phillies, the Marlins, the Orioles, the Blue Jays, our Athletics, and the Dodgers tomorrow. But check out BK every morning, 9 a.m. BK, it is great to have you on once again. And the day after the trading deadline, I have to say, I missed you this morning on television.
I know. Well, Angels and Braves knocked me off. So, yeah, sorry. But you got me. I'm actually doing MLB Tonight this evening. So you have first shot at me today.
Since we didn't get it this morning and before we get it tonight, what's the main thing for you after the deadline comes and goes? What was the number one thing you're hot on?
I mean, there's no question the failure of the Mets big money experiment. No matter what we thought of the team, and it wasn't just that the money, but it was coming off a very solid first year with Buck Showalter and that crew. It's the first, it's kind of the culmination of that first phase of the Steve Cohen ownership. The big push, to get big and be a big market player. And then all the money spent where that's the largest payroll in history. And it's the largest payroll now by a wide margin. And we're talking with the exception, I think, 1 year of the Yankees about 20 years ago, there's no one who's been as far out ahead of the pack as this year's Mets. For them to be the main players and the main sellers on deadline day is stunning. I mean, there's no bigger story. Even with the Cardinals, stunning fall, right? The White Sox, yet again, not stunning, but another puzzling sort of never came together. And then the Padres and Mets are together in that malaise, the kind of the new National League malaise watch, where they just can't get over themselves or past themselves. But the Mets are the ones who sold, and that's the biggest story of the trade deadline.
I agree 100%. We were told the Mets were going to be different, and it feels like the Mets are back being the Mets before Steve Cohen. And what I think people don't realize, we're just not talking about the largest payroll in the history of baseball. We're talking about the largest payroll in the history of American professional sports. And to dump it at the deadline, unreal. But that affects us out in the AL West, BK, because now you got Scherzer and Verlander, and it's the battle of Texas. It's the battle of the AL West. I think Verlander, the Astros were just in town. They were talking about how they've just missed him. They've missed the bravado. They've missed the dude. Talk about how Verlander comes to Houston. And we love Kendall Graveman too, but you bring Verlander to Houston, and boy, does that start to change everything.
Well, Verlander is still quite good, and it does tilt the balance of power somewhat because the teams at the top are fairly even. I don't think there's some runaway best team out there. And so I think it tilts the odds a bit. Verlander has diminished somewhat, which makes sense. He's 40. I did a whole essay on it yesterday. Same thing with Scherzer. Look, there's a reason why the Mets failed. Verlander missed the first month of the season. By the time he pitched, they were 5 games out. By the time he pitched his 9th game, he had a 4.50 ERA, and they were 12.5 out, and it was over. So, Verlander was not the solution. So as much as we can, he's quality. You add Lucas Giolito, to your rotation, which the Angels did. You're going to get better just by the virtue of a good pitcher takes a spot and everybody can move down one. That's certainly going to happen with the Astros. Verlander's still quite good. I know he's got 1.5 ERAs last 7.
Yep.
His velo is still good, but he and Scherzer are both reaching back to get that. They're gamers. They're Hall of Famers. They're intelligent. They use their intellect. They use the latest tools. They've got everything, but they're old. And so they're straining to get there. They're reaching back for something extra. The spin rate for Verlander is not the same. I did a whole thing on it yesterday. His action on his pitches aren't as good. He's still smart. He's going to get through. He'll still be good. But again, this is it's an older 40-year-old Verlander. It's not like you're getting, I don't know, Randy Johnson was when he suddenly, was traded, and you have the elite killer on the mound. This is a good pitcher. He definitely changes things, but it's not the same guy that we saw in 2018 and 2019.
Yeah, Randy Johnson to the Astros back in the day where he went 10-1 and was unhittable. Let's switch over to the Rangers. Jordan Montgomery, you get the reliever Chris Stratton, who can help you a lot. Austin Hedges, the catcher, because Heim is out. They need a little depth there. And also Max Scherzer. What'd you think about the haul for the Rangers?
Yeah, no, look, that helps them a lot, clearly. They needed arms, as I said, I'll bring it back to like Giolito. It's obvious when you look at the Angels, you're like, just to get a quality arm, it makes such a difference. For Texas, especially with Evaldi hurt, Evaldi's on the IL, most of their pitchers are right around league average or a little lower. Dane Dunning has overperformed. John Gray's been quite good. Martin Perez, was great last year. He hasn't been great this year. Andrew Heaney is league average. So there is some good, but it's not impressive. So you suddenly get a lot better just by virtue of now, if you have Dane Dunning or John Gray pitching a playoff game, they move down a slot. Evaldi's probably still going to be the ace because, again, Scherzer's diminished. Scherzer Verlander had a better year than Scherzer. Scherzer really has not been the same this year, and he is reaching back to get everything he can. And remember, the last few years, you get to a playoff series, he's had a few times where he couldn't toe the rubber. He couldn't make it. He has these injuries. He's breaking down. He gets better. I'm just saying, just by the virtue of that staff not being elite, no DeGrom, obviously, he makes them a lot better, a lot more solid, and they're already an offensive machine.
Just the whole three-way thing between the Mets, the Astros, and the Rangers, it's so complicated with the amount of money that the Mets are going to send to both these teams, the amount of money the Mets should come down with their luxury tax. It's really, the whole thing's unprecedented. But if we get away from these three teams, who did you say at the deadline, you go, I like that, it was smart, and they nailed it?
I don't know. It's funny. I'm looking at who didn't nail it. Who got better. I'd say the win. I like that the Cubs, held tough. I think the Padres didn't do much either way, which is probably fine because they already have their team set. They're just not winning, kind of inexplicably. I thought you'd have to say the Astros are the winner. Look, as much as I said that about Verlander, just to be, kind of temper expectations, that's still a big guy to land. I thought the Cardinals didn't do it in the right way. I thought if they were going to get out, and look, they're 47-60. I mean, they're not a good team. So if you're there, you're 13 under 500. Excuse me, they're 47-61. I missed the loss. I hadn't updated my page. They're 14 under 500. They've got a 35-year-old Paul Goldschmidt and a 32-year-old Nolan Arenado who are both hitting. They both have an OPS plus of 125, 128. So they have real value on the market. They're expensive. Goldschmidt, you're only going to have for another year. The Cardinals have kind of a nice backbone of a team there, a young team. It's time to make a decision. It's like teams that try to say, well, we can't trade our top guys because they're so good. We can't trade our second guys because they're really good. And maybe our third tier guys. And you have to tell these teams, wait a second, do you understand you're not a good team? So if everybody's so good, how come you're no good? To paraphrase Moneyball. If he hits so good, how come he doesn't hit good? That's what this is. And the Cardinals are kind of saying, well, we don't have Cardinals and White Sox are both like, you don't want to trade our secondary guys. It's like, well, you're losing. You're not good. So don't hold on to everybody because they're so good. If they were so good, you wouldn't be losing. And I'm talking losing badly. I'm not talking about, Padres are just under 500. It's not like they're bad. They're just not very good. White Sox and Cardinals are losing badly. It's time to shake it up and trying to, to say, hey, it's not working. And they had these two assets. And the Cardinals had these two monsters. Arenado and Goldschmidt, people would love them on the market. Eloy Jimenez, if I'm another GM, Eloy Jimenez is available. He's never quite bloomed for the White Sox. I would give something real to get Eloy Jimenez, but they want to hold on to their players. And I guess that it's tough to face reality in real time, in the real world, to say this is clearly not working in a big way, and we must revamp.
What do you say about teams that just head scratching? Like I think about Jerry DiPoto in Seattle. I think about Farhan, our good friend. Anytime I can kick the Giants, I'm going to take my opportunity. What the hell are the Giants doing?
You know, I would just say sometimes the doing nothing is a good thing. Doing small things is usually more prudent than doing the big thing. The things that get you in trouble in baseball are the big things, right? The big signings, the $300 million contracts, the aging players, the former stars, you know, trading for Giancarlo Stanton because you're in love with the power and want two big monster power hitters, making a deal for Albert Pujols when he was clearly in decline. These are the things that become big problems. A lot of times you just keep operating on the margins, make small deals, and obviously continue to draft and develop. Look, what did the Orioles do? They got Jack Flaherty hoping, hey, let's try to add to our rotation. Otherwise, they're like, hey, we don't make big moves. We don't win the winter meetings. You don't even know we're at the winter meetings. And guess what? We have the best record in the league. So I do not punish a GM or not talk down on a GM who seemingly did nothing. Sometimes doing nothing is best.
You know, when I think about our game, let's end on this. Why your show is so important is the fact for all of us in baseball who watch it, it really is an intelligent show. It's just not so many of these shows. We're just throwing up a bunch of graphics. We're showing highlights. You truly break down the sport in all the aspects it needs to be broken down in. Just what kind of responsibility do you feel being the host of that show, knowing that all of us are watching it and we all want a show like this that's more than just fluff and highlights?
Well, that's really nice of you to say, first of all. I really appreciate that. I hope there's a lot of you out there that do feel that way. I look at it, and I've told our own people in our meetings, you know, on MLB Now, our producers, our researchers, everybody who works, our highlight supervisors. It's a real team effort. And I tell everybody, hey, this is a rare opportunity where we could get to do precisely the TV show we want to do about baseball. I look at it that way. I look at every night, I look to write something that I find fascinating. And there are tons of things to find fascinating about baseball. So I hope, and I've through my whole career, when I was at ESPN and now that I've been at MLB Network for 11 years, 12 years, I know there's an intelligent baseball audience out there that wants this stuff. And it's not as flashy. It's not as sexy. I try to make it as fun as possible. You know, Mark, we laugh on the show. We have a good time. We're not there doing math class. But I know there's a lot of people out there that want to are wondering, scratch beneath the surface and tell us how things really operate. And let's talk about best practices and let's talk about, human bias and emotions and big business and hedge fund baseball. I mean, it's fascinating. I take the responsibility very seriously that MLB Network has given me. Here's an hour, do the show you want to do.
And you guys listen to each other, which is always so key in my time being in radio and in television. So many times people don't listen to each other and they just want to fight to the death for their point. I've noticed everybody on your panels, they get it. You guys do listen to each other. And sometimes people will say, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm not right. Maybe I need to rethink it. Just talk about, too, how it's a show where everybody learns and not everybody has to fight to the death to prove they're right.
Well, I'm glad you said that because we have a thing now this year called the Showdown.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
And I bring somebody on to basically, all right, let's talk about the big topics. Let's duel on it. And I'll come off sometimes and, my producers will say, you didn't really disagree with him on anything. And I'll say, well, he was right. He had good ideas. They're like, couldn't you push back? I go, no, I'd like to incorporate those new ideas into my ideas. If someone makes a good point, I think it's stronger. If you're saying that's a good point, we had Joel Sherman on yesterday. We have Bob Costas on. A lot of times it's, hey, that's a great point. Mad Dog Russo will be like, Dog, you're right. It's like, you're right. You have the right sensibility. I agree with you. So when you do disagree, you can say, okay, here's where you're wrong. And that's when it's fun. But there's nothing wrong with, hey, let's really think this through, experienced baseball people. and let's come to a consensus on this. You know, it is about trying to seek the truth of an answer, right? Get the best possible answer. And there's going to be enough arguments. But yeah, I've been down this road long enough now where I know, you know, you think you know, you don't know, as Jim Mora, the football coach, said years ago. You think you know, you don't know. And I'm not arrogant where I think, hey, we've got this sabermetric revolution figured out, and now everybody's thinking this way, and we were right all along. Just when when that happens, you go from one set of groupthink to another set of groupthink. And that's kind of where we're at now, where I'm doing, if you notice, Mark, like baseball-y and unbaseball-y plays. I think now that we all value the right things, plate discipline and on-base percentage and all these things and marking defensive metrics and that sort of thing, the game is kind of like won and lost on these old-school baseball-y margins, taking extra bases, limiting extra bases defensively, having baseball awareness. Baseball awareness is kind of down now. Tools are up. Awareness is down. I think that's where the game is won and lost these days.
At first time I saw the disclaimer for the showdown, I was rolling. It was hilarious. I got to tell you, it means a lot when you come on. We love the show. We love what you're doing, and keep doing it. We got 2 months left before the playoffs, but it's a show that I look forward to every single day. So always appreciate your time. You be well, and let's do this again before the playoffs.
Absolutely. Mark, thank you for the kind words. Always good speaking with you. Thank you.
Love Brian Kenny.
He's a big fan of us.
He's the man. Tomorrow, David Forst, the general manager of the Oakland Athletics, will be by, and we'll talk about what did the A's get? Boyle, Patrick, what do they get from the Reds? What do they get from the Arizona Diamondbacks? What do they project with these guys? They're starters. They need starters. Why weren't they able to move other guys? Cannot wait. We will see.
Kotze
tomorrow. Mark Kotze tomorrow. Steve Vucinich tomorrow. We'll do a lot of
Marty Laurie.
We got A's history all day. God.
And I'm still waiting from the Dodgers to hear about Dave Roberts, but I'm not gonna hold my breath.
Think about that. We had Carney Lansford, new A's Hall of Famer. We had Jason Giambi, A's Hall of Famer today. Tomorrow we're gonna have David Forst, the general manager. A's historian Steve Vucinich.
A's Hall of Famer.
A's Hall of Famer Steve Vucinich. Also A's historian. I mean,
Bay Area Radio Hall of Famer Marty Laurie.
Boom. The greatness that is Marty Laurie. And nobody has covered the trade deadline as good as us. Yeah, folks, we got to talk trading deadline. It's a big part of our game. Because starting tomorrow night, the NFL hits, and then,
Jets, Browns.
Football hits, and then baseball coverage changes. It doesn't change here. By the way, James Caprillion, hate to report, surgery on his shoulder. He is out for the rest of the year. That'll be another thing that we got to talk about. This is going to be a big year for him. We have a lot to get into tomorrow with the general manager of the Oakland Athletics. Coming up next, it's A's baseball, A's and the Dodgers from Dodger Stadium. We'd like to thank Jason Giambi. We'd like to thank Carney Lansford, the two new A's Hall of Famers. Eno Sarris, our national baseball columnist from the Athletic. And, of course, Brian Kenny, BK, from MLB Network. Thank you for watching. We'll see everybody tomorrow at 4 o'clock. This is Chris Townsend and Commander Cody for Link Soul. You need to redo your wardrobe, especially for summer. They got new colors, new